Good afternoon. Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime. This motel also has, as an adjunct, an old house, which is, if I may say so, a little more sinister looking, less innocent than the motel itself. And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place. I think we can go inside because the place is up for sale, although I don't know who's going to buy it now. In that window on the second floor, the single one in front, that's where the woman was first seen. Let's go inside. You see, even in daylight, this place still looks a bit sinister. Now, it was at the top of these stairs that the second murder took place. She came out of the door there and met the victim at the top. Of course, in a flash, there was the knife, and in no time, the victim tumbled and fell with a horrible crash. I think the back broke immediately. It hit the floor. It's difficult to describe the way that the twisting of the well, I won't dwell upon it. Come upstairs. Of course, the victim, or should I say victims, hadn't any conception as to the type of people they would be confronted with in this house, especially the woman. She was the weirdest and the most... Well, let's go into her bedroom.
Good evening. What is going on, everybody? I'm Chris C., the slasher dude. That's my cohort in crime, another slasher brother, Darren. How you doing there, Darren?
Not too bad. Just getting ready, looking forward to talking all things Psycho, because it's been so long since I've seen these.
Yes, absolutely.
Been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is officially Slasher Stream episode 2, and we're going to be talking about the Psycho films in this box set right here from Arrow. It was released last year. This was my box set of the year. Comes with 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a very good booklet that I've read a little bit of. It talks about Ed Gein, which this film is loosely based off of. This is top 10 films all time to me. After watching it in basically 4K in black and white. Very good transfer. It's an all-timer. I keep on forgetting how good this film is. It's highly rewatchable even to this day.
I can't argue with that. But I am going to have kind of a difference of opinion in terms of what's going to be my favorite 8 to 4, which we'll come on to.
Me too,
and
probably.
it might be, different to what other people would say. But all 4 are great, in their ways. So yeah, like I say, I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know how you want to go about doing the reviews. Do you want to go through the films a little bit, and then we'll just...
Yeah, absolutely. That'll work perfectly. An unheralded franchise, in my opinion. I'm very glad Arrow released this set. It's good to bring it back to the map. Of course, we have the series with Vera Farmiga that was in there that kind of brought the series back to life a little bit. To your point, each film is unique in its own way, very unique. Each film is literally different. Literally, almost every film is different. That's what I like about the franchise. Specifically 3, we'll get to that, and 4, which kind of harkens back to the original and comes full circle with the franchise. So it'll definitely be very cool. Getting into the chat real quick, and we'll get this going. Got 8 people in here. I appreciate everybody for checking this out. I appreciate that. Got my man Keith Gorphobe in here. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, Keith.
Got Guy, Caveman Movies and More, who did the thumbnail for this stream. He's helped me out a lot. Thank you very much, Guy. Appreciate that, my friend.
hopefully he's feeling better.
It seems to be doing good. He's able to make my thumbnails, and I'm like, thank God you're back. I appreciate the help. Yes, love Hitch, absolutely. Probably, oh God, the first really big director, kind of, you can say, right? Kind of put in the forefront. I know, was his name Fritz Lang? Was before
Yeah,
him.
yeah. There's kind of what I've been told. I don't know. I think Dirk was saying as well that kind of some of Fritz Lang stuff is like Hitchcock was influenced by, which makes complete sense. Um, but in terms of a heavyweight, no pun intended, because he was a big guy, but Alfred
Right.
Hitchcock is. I mean, can you name anyone better? Certainly of his time, you can.
Absolutely not. He basically, it's what, I consider Mario Bava the Hitchcock for Italian films. It's
Yeah,
almost not a carbon copy wise, but it's so good from both those directors and both those films. So I kind of like that, the influence, that
yeah, yeah.
Hitchcock had on the film genre in general. I know he started directing in the, oh God, the 20s, and all this other stuff too. It's just great. He's just always into film, and it's very
Crazy when you think like the silent era, like is when he first started directing.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, complete legend.
Hey Liv, hey Blissful,
Hey,
thanks for
what's up?
coming in saying hi.
Hey, Liv.
Appreciate that. Okay, man, giving a shout out to Keith. In front of my college film back in the day, would have been kind of cool if I weren't deathly afraid of public speaking. Oh yeah, it's
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
with that introductory video, that's how he just did it so well and almost playfully, like way it's like where the head twisted and it went down the
Yeah,
stairs, just dreadful stuff. And I'm like, nobody had a way of introduction than Alfred Hitchcock. Nobody.
they tried. I think William Castle did try to copy him a lot. In the years after Psycho with the kind of similar trailers. But no one could do it like him.
Going through, everyone's saying hi here. Hey Corey, what's going on? I know he was doing a Instagram live for a little bit there. Thanks for stopping by, Corey. Appreciate it. Check out his channel, everybody. Very cool guy. Got Russell Collier in here.
Hey, Russ.
Yeah, just watching his awesome films and stuff like that too. Very, very cool. And yeah, there we go. Everyone said hi. So I'm just going to get in a quick synopsis about the great director Alfred Hitchcock, real quick, and you can chime in too, Darren. And then, of course,
Yeah, yeah.
Anthony Perkins, great actor. May rest in peace. Very sad ending for him in his life. Alfred Hitchcock, born in 1899 to 1980. The anniversary of his death is coming up. He died April 29th, 1980. Renal failure. I know he had kidney problems. I know he got, what was it, the AFI Achievement Award in 79, I believe.
I'm not
And
sure, yeah,
yeah,
but I'm sure he's probably got tons of
yeah, he
awards over
does.
the
He got
years.
knighted, I think, a year after he died in 1980. I think he got knighted, as Sir Alfred Hitchcock.
Right. Yeah.
His last film was Frenzy, right? Um,
I
Directed film.
think it's one of his last. If
Yeah.
I think he did one after, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, his wife was his rock, basically. I know during the filming of that, she had a stroke, which very hindered her a lot. I think she ended up in a wheelchair. And I know he had a film planned. He had it written and stuff like that. And I think he fired his co-writer and stuff like that. I think you can find the script of that film. I forget the name of it off of the top of my head. And,
Was that
but
the one called Kaleidoscope?
yes. Yeah, I believe that was it. This is just quick
Yeah.
IMDb stuff, looking through his life and stuff like that too is very
That would have been a fantastic film from what I've read up about it.
got the
Oh,
Ratty
hey,
in here
Garrett.
saying hi. How you
Yeah.
doing there, Garrett?
What's up, Garrett?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for stopping by. Very, very cool. Caveman saying a shout out to Corey. And any thoughts on Alfred Hitchcock there, Darren?
So yeah, basically I can remember, growing up, all his films being on TV. And I surprisingly, there's a lot of gaps I've got as well, because me and Dirk are doing Strangers on a Train and Rope on
and wrote,
Saturday,
yeah.
which I've never seen, believe it or not. And I've not seen The Birds either, so that I've got quite a bit, that I need to go
Oh, was
back
that
and
the
watch.
3? Right, or Frenzy is one of them, I thought, but yeah, it's the
Yeah,
bird.
no, The
Bird.
Birds we're not covering Saturday, but I've never seen it anyway.
Funny enough, those are the only 2 major ones I've seen are The Birds and Psycho. Vertigo I've not seen, so definitely going to dive into his
Oh
filmography.
God, Vertigo, because I know you like giallo films. There's a
Yeah.
lot of giallo influence in that, and Rear Window as well is another
Oh
one.
yeah, Rear Window, yeah, with Mr. Stewart. Yeah, it's very great director. May he rest in peace and stuff like that. Has a daughter who's in the first Psycho playing the secretary. Which is very
Right? Yeah,
cool. His
yeah,
daughter's in that one too. Quick story on Anthony Perkins, 1932, and died in 1992. So a couple years after Psycho 4.
yeah.
Passed away September 12th, 1992. He was HIV positive, which is a shady story about that. He got a blood test done at the hospital or at the doctor's, and the National Enquirer got a hold of that. Very shady stuff there, and they put that out because he didn't know. I know after Psycho 2, a little bit after Psycho 2, I think it was in 84, he was arrested at an airport. He had drugs on him and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was unfortunately kind of a heavy drug user at the time. Probably what he used kind of caused him, unfortunately, to get that. He's survived by 2 children, and he has a grandson as well. So, but
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
great actor. He was nominated for an Academy Award back in the 50s. Great actor, very good looking man, tall dude, kind of like me, kind of that wiry kind of, but a very good looking man. But of course, he's known as Norman Bates, and he tried to separate himself from that character. But once you get to that point, it'd be like England trying to separate from being Freddy Krueger. You just can't do that.
I mean, there's no one else on the planet who could have played this role any better.
Yeah,
Norman
absolutely.
Bates.
He was meant to play it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, I bet there's people who've never even seen the film. They know Norman Bates just by the look of Anthony Perkins, and yeah, it's just a shame he died such a young man, really 60, I think it was. It's like no age really, but you can see why he got stereotyped. But I mean, I've seen a few of his other films, and he's a fantastic actor.
No, he's a great actor. He's
Very
early ones.
versatile.
He was a fan, of course, of Hitchcock. He was a big fan of Orson Welles as well with his films and his acting and stuff. You can kind of see that sign of the time. Like the way he talked is really funny, the way he talks compared to his
Yeah,
Norman
yeah.
Bates character. Very cool dude. May rest in peace, whatever like that. And we got Bob's Blu-rays in here. What's going on, Bob? Thanks for stopping
Hey,
by.
Bob.
Yeah, just talking to the Psycho franchise. And
He
we'll
did
get to
do
that.
a convention, I think. Like Anthony Perkins did a Fangoria convention. I think it was like a year or two before he died.
Yeah.
And there's footage. I'm not sure about YouTube, but there is footage out there of him doing that. And the guy was so funny as well. Like he had such a good sense of humor. He had it kind of all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very
Definitely dig out his old interviews if you can, because they're fascinating.
Yeah, I have one I still need to watch. I know Dirk has seen it, Edge of Sanity, where it's like a Jekyll and Hyde type of story with him.
Like a Jack the Ripper style story as well, I
Yeah.
think.
It's like
Yeah.
alternate personalities and stuff like that too. He's been in some other ones. Some big films, of course, in the 50s, of course, the 60s happened and stuff like that too. So he is an all-around great actor. Very good. And of course, the history of the Psycho franchise, of course, the first Psycho, based off the book by Robert Bloch, which I need to check out his books because he has some twisted stories. He wrote for Weird Tales. So he wrote for the same magazine that H.P. Lovecraft wrote for, Robert E. Howard wrote for. You have these heavy hitters. The Psycho book, and then Alfred Hitchcock later, of course, in 1960. This was the last film that was done under Paramount Pictures. Because he says, no, you're going to do this here and stuff like that too, and they separate it. Then, of course, the rest is history with Universal, of course, with that. But Yeah, we'll start off, of course, with the classic film Psycho, done in 1960, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, stars Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Patricia Patricia Hancock, his daughter. I'm just saying that as a quick because she plays a secretary at the bank that
Yeah, yeah,
Lee's character works for, and then of course Vera Miles as Lee's sister in this one. The writers are Joseph Stefano, and of course Robert Bloch had a take in this as he did with the second Psycho film as well, which is
yeah.
very interesting, and we'll get to that. So yeah, just give a quick synopsis on the film there, Darren.
So yeah, I mean, what can you say about this one that hasn't already been said? But so, and we've got to mention the music score as well. Bernard Herrmann's got that violin type. I mean, it is an amazing.
Deenie. And the intro works great for that because you see stuff move back and forth like it's going with the violin there. I really like that a lot.
And I mean, that theme has been ripped off in so many films since. It's unreal. Reanimator being one as well. But yeah, so what I like about this film is the way it opens up with that like very famous POV shot of the camera going into the building.
Yes.
And the thing I like struck me straight away with that is Dario Argento's Tenebrae when he does the old, building when he's going up the.
I never thought of that. Yeah, the camera work is very good with this.
Has to have been an influence for that. But yeah, to quickly go through the story, like, so you've got Marion Crane and Sam Loomis. They're kind of having this affair. I think he's already married.
He is. He's married.
But what's interesting about the first scene for me is we see Marion in a white bra, which kind of typifies her, what's the word? Her kind of virginity in a way. I know she's not
purity, right? Purity. I see where you're getting with that too, Darren. We'll get to that scene later.
Which kind of changes as the film goes on.
Yes.
But yeah, so she hears that Sam, her boyfriend, or I suppose you could say her boyfriend, he's having kind of money problems. With his wife wants alimony and all that. So they decide, they're kind of having this affair and they want to kind of run away together, or they certainly want to have some kind of life together in the future.
Yes.
Go
on quick on that. She's wanting the relationship with him. He's hesitant at first, like right after they kind of do the business and stuff like that too, and it's a good relationship between the two characters. Real straight up, Janet Leigh was gorgeous. She was very, very pretty. My goodness. She was very, very pretty. She plays that part to a T. I mean, she's kind of begging him because, like say, there's that scene where she wants a family. She wants to marry him. And he's like, so.
The only thing that seems to be holding him back is the marriage to his wife, and he says to her something along the lines of, he wants to be supportive with money-wise and all that for her. So he's basically got to wait till he gets a divorce come through.
Yeah, because his business isn't doing so hot either. You learn about that later. Because they never introduce you to his wife in this one. And I kind of get that with the story-wise and stuff like that too. But you realize later, of course, that his business is kind of in dire straits at the moment.
And it's kind of a funny thing that happens like with him and another character in this film, Vera Miles, that goes on into the second film, but we'll come into that. But yeah, so we see Marion, she's at work. She's at her desk. It's a boiling hot day. And some rich businessman comes in.
Yeah, shady old man. Yeah,
very shady. But he's buying like his daughter this. I think it's like £40,000 house. But at the time, you gotta be thinking that's probably close to $1 million nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays. He talks to her about that. He sits like on the desk next to her, right? And she knows what's going on. This was a different time too, so they kind of know and stuff like that too. And she just does her business and just smirks, even though she's probably feeling disgusted inside. And
Right, because he's trying to come on to her, like, and
oh yeah,
just,
with her boss like right there next to her and stuff like that.
yeah,
But he
trying
can't
to,
do anything, right? He doesn't want to lose his business. And
that's right, yeah, he's very sleazy,
what
that
does he
guy.
does he talk about his daughter? I think he talks about his daughter, what he
A
wants to
little
get
bit.
for her and stuff like that too. He says, this and that and this and
Right, so basically he's just flaunting his wealth. So
yeah,
Marion, is obviously a gorgeous looking woman, and he's trying to flirt with her basically, and all that.
oh
But
yeah,
so she's told by her boss then, can you get this money into the bank as soon as possible? And then we'll kind of turn it into a check for the following week because he doesn't
yeah.
like having cash on the premises.
Gave her the cash
Uh,
like right there because supposed to deposit it and stuff like that. And the dude's all mentioning it's like, let's get like a whiskey or something like that or in there. She goes back
yeah,
into the office and like I guess what gives him some paperwork or something like that and then leaves. Yeah.
yeah, because I think she's got a headache. She decides she's got a
Yeah, she
headache
says she
and
has a headache. Yeah.
she needs to have a lay down. But obviously, then on the way home, she decides that maybe she's not going to give up this money very easily. But when she kind of gets home, then the black bra comes into it because now
See the shift right
it's a
there.
shadier
Yes.
side comes,
Yes.
and
Where
that was no accident. That was
it
done
was
quite
not.
well.
It was
Yeah,
done very well. You can see the hesitation. She starts putting the stuff in her suitcase and stuff like that too. She has it in the envelope or whatever it is, puts it on there, gets ready to go. I remember that scene. I'm like going, she's almost like a Black Widow type of a person because
yeah.
he lives, I think, yeah, they were going to, what was it? Were they going to meet up somewhere? I think it was, or
They
something
were
like that.
originally going to meet up somewhere. Yeah,
Okay.
not far from where the Bates Motel is, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Right. Right.
but as she's like driving away, her boss sees her. He sees her in the car, and
Yeah.
then she kind of panics a
That's
little
what I
bit.
mean. It's
Yeah,
such a great scene from the car because she's thinking about what's going to happen, right? She's thinking about
yeah,
what's going to happen with the money, where you hear her boss's thoughts and stuff like that. Is like, where's Marion and stuff like that too. She's supposed to be in today, but she's not. And then you hear
she
the phone
imagines
ringing
all
and he's
these
talking to her,
scenarios.
talking to the
Yeah,
dude. It's like, where's the money at? I thought she deposited it, right? That's when,
right.
you get the scene right at the stoplight. Then you see her boss. He
Yeah,
doesn't see her at first. Then he turns and then she's just like all incognito, like sitting there.
she's
I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
the
I've been
tension is
sprung.
just so big in this film. So good.
And then you've got actually the policeman then as well. He stops her, pulls her over,
More
and
than
you've got
once,
the
he's stalking her kind of like with
yeah,
the
yeah,
glasses on, all stern wise, asking for information. Then lets her go because he pulls off like in this, he pulls out, in the
right,
intersection and um she's going to switch cars, right? You have the
yeah,
dealer, like she
yeah.
wants to do cash for it, and he's like, oh, hey, what's going on? And the dealer's kind of interesting. The car dealer's kind of interesting in this too.
I mean, and then he turns up as well, the policeman. Even when she's doing the deal with the guy about the car and the cash, she's giving him the cash on top. Um, and then the suspense with that, is this policeman going to stop her? Is it,
Right, because
but it,
he's at the corner, across the street. She doesn't
yeah,
notice him at first, and then they get this all done, and she's like, then the cop pulls up, and then
right,
she's getting ready to go, and then you see one of the mechanics come out, miss, 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 and it's the suitcase that has the money in it.
yeah, yeah. And she's
Just opens
thinking,
up the car, and
like,
that's
do
a
the police
Chevy.
already
That's a
know
50s
type thing?
Chevy. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
My stepfather loves Chevys. Those are those are nice cars. So when you see that,
But he does that so well, the suspense in that scene, because we don't know at this point, if the police found out yet. We just don't know, about the money going missing.
the master of it, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's when basically he pulls up, she drives off. You see the cop go up and stuff like that. It's a classic 60s scene where they're all just watching her go. Who was it? Was it the police officer mentions it about her information? That's when they go into his office, and then it just goes back to her, where she's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
like kind of happy and all this other stuff too, kind of smiling. She's like, "Holy shit, I got away with it." That's when it starts raining, like pouring down.
yeah. I mean, when she's in the car, like as well, but she kind of pulls in then to the Bates Motel, um, and she's like, I'll stop overnight type of thing because she's got to go and see Sam. I think, like Chris said earlier on, they arranged to meet at some point.
I
But
think it's
yeah, you
Los
gotta love
Angeles
it
or
when she.
somewhere. I
What's
think
that?
that's
Sorry.
where it was at. I think it was Los Angeles or somewhere because she was originally going to go fully, but she can't because of the rain. I mean, she can hardly
Yeah,
see
yeah.
in there, those damn wipers.
I mean, I love a rainstorm in any film, but this is one of the ones that originated that idea,
Right.
and really brought home this, because when she pulls into the hotel, like you say, you've got the rain coming down, um, but we think we see someone up in the window of the house. Do we see a woman up in the window of the house? Like at
Yes.
this point, we don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
Um,
Yeah.
but then a few minutes later, kind of Norman appears and he offers her some dinner.
He says, "I'll be right down," right? He goes like, "I'll be right
Yeah.
down," and whatever like that. And we get introduced to Norman Bates, played by Anthony Perkins.
I mean, such a great kind of, chemistry between the two, I think, when he
That's a
comes on
great
screen.
conversation. Gets her.
Yeah.
That's interesting, right? Where he goes to the keys to the room and stuff like that, and he waits. So, is
I
it?
mean, who
And then
could
he
play
just
that
picks the
part?
key. It's like he's like up there, and it's room 1, so right next to his office.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Oh, yes, which we'll come on to
Yeah,
definitely in part
he
4
gives it
as well.
gives it to her, and he's all like, "You want to have dinner? Are you hungry or something like that? We can have it in my studio right here." And she goes, and I'm not going to say gets dressed or stuff like that too, but then I think it's that scene where she goes into that place where you see the hole in the wall. And
Yeah, yeah,
this is very heavy on voyeurism, very heavy on
absolutely.
voyeurism here.
Yeah. And this comes into play very prominently in part 4 as well, which we'll mention. Um, but yeah, she kind of because his office or where he takes her back is full of birds,
Yeah, taxidermy.
Um,
Yeah,
taxidermy, yeah, which is kind of a weird hobby to have, certainly at that time.
yeah.
Um, and it kind of gives it this spooky type of feel. But we hear like Norma Bates then up in the house talking to Norman. And again, the first time you watch this film, that will completely throw you off.
Big time.
Yeah,
Big
because
time.
it's like, and it happens a lot throughout all 4 films.
It does.
Everyone will probably know why, but
Yeah.
it's done so well. I mean, I can't
It's
believe
the
it was.
mascot of the franchise, right? It's
Yeah,
mother
yeah,
in the window. Sometimes that window is closed in other films. Sometimes there's a curtain over it. Not a lot of times, not in this one.
right, yeah, and you'll see the curtain twitching, and you'll
Oh yeah.
always see a figure up in that window at
Yes.
any given time. Um, but he seems quite nervous around Marion, doesn't he, Norman? He seems really
Very
nervous.
shy like I am. Yeah.
Yeah, he explains to her like his mother is, ill. Uh, and like he explains her mother met this man as well, and the way they died, which
Yeah.
or the way he died, I should
The
say,
way he died.
which
Yeah, he gives
again
a
comes
little bit
into
of that.
play.
Yeah. He gives a little bit of that away.
Yeah,
A
it's like a
little bit.
jigsaw puzzle over the 4 films. You're kind of putting together the
Right.
jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
But
because you don't know what's going. Seeing this for the first time, you do not know what's going on. That's what's so great about a first time watch. If you're first time
right,
watching this film, it's so good, but you don't know. You don't know. Very Giallo-esque. Hate to say that, but it's very true. Very Giallo-esque. It's a very whodunit type situation here.
it's definitely the grandfather slasher film, I think. But yeah, so Marion says something strange to him, right? Because he's on about his mother, and then she says something about, well, why don't you have her put somewhere or in like
Yeah, have her put somewhere and stuff
basically in
like
a
that too.
madhouse.
That kind of triggers him a little bit. He's like, I could never, I believe, sorry if I'm missing it. Yeah. He says, I can never do that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. And we kind of see for the first time then the split personality of Norman.
He talks about birds, doesn't he? Because mostly what he has is birds, and he talks about the birds and stuff like that, like how they communicate or something like that to her. She's actually listening to her. It's a good great conversation between the two.
And I mean, just not just as a slasher, like this kind of works as an old dark house type, creepy house type film, you know?
It's a masterpiece of a film. It's just like it has everything you could want. It has drama in it too. So
I can't think of a better film of that time, you know?
No, not at all.
But we've got to, you know, obviously mentioning Cycle, we've got to mention the big shower scene.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Like I say, with the conversation, and it's a good conversation with the two, and she changes her mind where he's like,
yeah,
because he is asked, where are you going? And again, like that. And he's like, oh yeah, because she says she's going to leave at dawn or something like that. And she goes like, actually, I'm going back. You know what I mean? To face the music.
Oh, yeah.
So she has a change of heart.
Yeah, regret.
She has a change of heart, right? Because she's like, you know what? This isn't right. You know what I mean? This isn't.
Yeah.
She actually thanks him like a little bit and stuff like that too. And
he's kind of like, subconsciously give her the idea, like, you know, of going back.
She goes back to the room. She takes the money out and she puts it in a newspaper. She rolls it up in the newspaper and she puts it on the nightstand. And then go ahead, Darren, just take it off from there.
And that's always bothered me, why she did that. Why not leave it in a bag? Why not keep it on her at all times, you know?
And that scene goes on where that newspaper rolls up, sits there.
Yeah.
It sits there for the longest time. And you're like, is he gonna see that the newspaper, is he gonna find it in there and stuff like that? So go ahead, Darren.
That's another Hitchcock thing, you know?
Yeah.
But the shower scene, man. It's fantastic, you know. So he's kind of comes back to his office. I think he sees her, then he through the peephole.
Because there's a picture on it, I think, still.
Yeah.
Then he just takes it. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that's where the voyeurism kicks in.
So, you know, she's taking the shower. I think everyone's seen this scene 1,000 times. But it's done so well, you know. We see the silhouette of Norma basically killing Marion and, you know, stabbing her in the shower. And for 1960, this gotta have been really
this
shocking.
Was huge because she falls after. Basically, it's like, you know, the beautiful Janet Leigh, who doesn't do showers. She doesn't do showers. Janet Leigh didn't do showers. She did baths. So I remember talking to her about that. That was very interesting. That's an old school shower where it's on top of there and stuff like that too.
Right. Yeah.
You know, just doing all that. And it's the scene where she's in the shower. Then you see the door open to the bathroom. And then you see the silhouette coming closer and closer and closer. And that's done great in black and white because you still don't see who it is. And
no, not even on the 4Ks. You can look and you can kind of make out
it's done so well,
bigger, but
basically
the eyes you can kind of make
it's the typical thing. You hear of course the violins just go wee like that, goes up like that, stabs her a bunch of times. She's just sitting there, goes down, and then grabs the curtain or grabs the shower curtain, like that, and just falls like that. That's very Giallo-esque. That's very Giallo-esque.
It's brilliant.
Then you just see the eyes wide open face.
Yeah, it's just like everything in that scene is just perfection. And it's kind of, you know, if you look at it now, because we do see quite a bit of gushing blood as well. And at that time, I think only Peeping Tom had come out like maybe 6 months before. It's not really a similar film, but it's kind of a thriller. It's kind of got voyeuristic elements to it. So that's the only thing like you can really at the time pair them up against each other. But Psycho did it so much better, you know, so much better.
It's haunting to this day. It's one of the top horror scenes in history, no doubt.
Yeah.
Then after all this going on, you see you see Bates go in there, and he's like he goes into the bathroom, and you don't see the scene. You just see it from his eyes. He peeks in there, and then he's just like,
Right.
he starts like, oh no, not again type of a situation. He cleans up. He puts the body in the shower curtain, right? Yeah. So he wraps her in that. He starts all the while the newspaper, and I love the way the camera pans over to the newspaper, the rolled up newspaper there. It's sitting there. It's like the invisible guest, right? It's like, the visible person there watching all this happen. And it's like, I'm like going, because I forgot about that. I'm like going, oh, he has to notice the money that's in the paper. He eventually gets to that because he's packing up everything. Puts her in
you're kind of shading at the screen, at the screen, like, look in the paper, look in the paper.
Because it's just her there. Nobody else is there. So he puts her, he puts her in the front seat of the car, or does he put her in the trunk?
He puts her in the car anyway.
Yeah, he puts her in the car. He puts the other stuff in the trunk. He takes the newspaper. He puts it in the suitcase that has the money. And I'm like going, oh, he doesn't know what's in there. Not like he would care. His character cares.
Yeah.
Shuts it down. And basically, the way the swamp looks, it looks like a tar pit, right?
Yeah.
And you're almost thinking that, like, dude, this looks like a tar pit. That's freaky. And you watch him just pop the whatever brakes or whatever they are, and just pushes the car in there, and then you watch it just go blah 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 blah, blah right in there. I'm like going, dude, it's like we got a serial killer on our hands.
It is great, but the thing is, the car kind of stops, doesn't it? And then it gets submerged, like, because he's like thinking, shit,
right?
And then
it stops, and then it finally goes. Yeah, it finally goes,
like,
because you don't hear no because I think he has the windows rolled down. If he didn't, you'd hear glass shatter for that. You know what I mean? Because that happens, with the pressure from water. And it does stop for a second, and you're feeling his tension. He's like going, oh, shit.
Oh, the suspense in that scene alone.
Because it's like right in the back of the hotel, because he doesn't drive that far to where he's able to walk back. Because sure enough, his character doesn't know how to drive.
Right. Yeah.
At this time. So he walks everywhere. So but that's a great scene. It's like crazy.
But then we get introduced to Lila Crane, which is Marion's sister. She's
great. Vera Miles, very good actress.
Oh God, yeah, and she looks like
Mills.
her as well.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, she looks. She's really pretty. She's really pretty.
She looks exactly like her. So to believe her sisters easily.
The very stubborn, very cool, very strong woman character for this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like goes in, because I think she first goes into. Is it the bank or somewhere? That's where you see a quick Hitchcock outside. You see him for a brief moment, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. No, that was earlier, I think. But I know
that was in the office scene,
Yeah, the office scene. You see Hitchcock outside, and I'm like looking, I'm like going, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, that's when the businessman, or Marion, I think, walks in. But so we're introduced to Lila Crane. She goes to see Sam, Marion's boyfriend, and she says, look, she's been missing.
Right. The what is it?
Bit of an incident
there and stuff like that. He tells him go and take a break, and he's like, "Well, geez," like he looks at him, take a break,
because there's this missing issue of the money as well, which Sam's got no idea basically.
Yeah.
But they all think that he knows something.
Because you get introduced to the private investigator that comes in that's working for the bank, or the dude that the money is missing.
Yeah, Arbogast, I think his name is.
Sam Loomis. Thank you, Gort. Thank you.
So the three of them start talking now, and their main aim basically is to get to get hold of Marion. The sister's obviously concerned for her well-being. The private investigator's more or less worried about the money.
Right. At first he is. He definitely is, but he's trying to get all information because the sister is kind of thinking about that too, where it's like going, she took some money. There's some money missing from this client. And she's like, she kind of knows, but kind of doesn't. This is a sister's thing too. So where she can kind of think, I know you're having an affair with my sister. It's like, don't lie to me about it, and all this other stuff too. So,
and it's completely out of character as well. for Marion to do anything like this,
Yeah.
because she's like this blonde, kind of good looking, but the wouldn't melt type of person before all this.
Yeah.
So Arbogast, the private detective, he goes and visits Norman then at the motel
Yes.
to see if he's seen Marion. Obviously,
Right, because he was
he
and
denies
he
it at
said he
first,
would
doesn't
get
he?
back to her. He said he would get back to her to the sister of what's going on here. He's
Right.
finding out where she was kind of last seen and stuff like that. And that's a very cool scene between him and Norman Bates. That's a very, very good like interrogation type scene.
Yeah,
Loomis does a great job
it's kind of
as
weird
this
because
character.
he
Yeah.
completely denies it, doesn't he, Norman? And
Oh
then
no, he denies it. He stutters. You
yeah,
can tell there's a problem and he knows it. It's like he's
he
like,
gives
well, what?
himself away straight away just by being so nervous,
Keith makes a very good. He made it earlier. Comment about that earlier. It's like going with Anthony Perkins, like you say, he gets nervous and stuff like that too, and he'll start stuttering and stuff like that. He'll start like going because he can't lie. There's no way. He's a terrible liar. His character. So
Right, yeah. So they know, like, basically they know something's up straight away.
yeah,
But then we see Norma's figure again up in the window, and that's why I'm saying this happens a lot throughout all 4 films. But she seems to be sitting up in the window. And just the image of that is kind of like I remember as a youngster watching it, and this would always be like a Saturday night film on BBC One. And it's kind of, you would call it tame, wouldn't you? Even back then, you wouldn't really, it's not like a Friday the 13th style slasher.
no, of course, but
So my
when you're
dad,
younger, you don't realize that. I
yeah.
admit, as you get older, tastes change and stuff like that. But this is way ahead of its time. It's one of the most influential films of all time, in my opinion.
I think it's you could say it's kind of kid friendly, but I mean the shower scene, and all that.
Yeah,
But
that's not kid friendly.
I was allowed to see it as a kid. There were no problems. But yeah. So Arbogast tells Lila then that Marion spent the night in the Bates Motel because he works it out because of her name. She puts like did she put like an alias down?
He put an alias on there. The thing is, he denies it. Then he changes his mind. He goes, "Oh yeah, actually, she did." When he mentions a name, because he'll look
Yeah.
at where they sign in and stuff like that too. Because,
but he goes like snooping around then, doesn't he, Arbogast? He goes snooping around the
he goes
motel.
into the room where she stayed at, right? Which he cleaned up. He cleaned up and like, except I think there was some blood somewhere, but I may be wrong. But I think there's some blood he forgot about, right? That's where the PTSD kind of kicks in or whatever it's called, and where he's like, "Oh, did I miss it?"
But yeah, shortly afterwards, then so Arbogast is snooping around the house, the big house where Norman lives.
Yeah.
And we got the Arbogast death scene, which is the way it's shot is just amazing.
Well, he goes back, like I said, when he gets, he just goes, "All right, it's like, okay, thank you for like helping and stuff like that." That's when he goes to a payphone and he calls the sister and mentions, you know what? And that's when his character kind of changes, where he's like, he's trying to help the sister out, try to find her and stuff like that too. Of course he is, wants to know if any foul play happened. And he calls that, then he goes back when Norman's not there, right? And that's when I think he sees her from the house, right? He sees Mrs. Bates from the window, and he's like, goes into the house. He's like looking, and that's the first time you see what the inside of the house looks like, other than the introduction, of course, by the great Alfred Hitchcock. But great house. It's an iconic house. Old school house, really nice, of course. But, of course, those scenes were shot somewhere else. This was all shot in studio, by the way, which is crazy, except for the car lot scene. That's the only scene that was outside of the studio.
Do you know when you see the big house, wasn't that some kind of painting or something? I think
it was at one time. Yes, I believe so.
For certain, maybe one of the other films, but it was certainly like a backdrop of like a huge painting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arbogast's death is just amazingly shot. So I don't know how they did the effect, but you know, he's on the top of the stairs,
Yeah.
kind of Norman, you know.
It's an iconic scene. They show it, the camera on top of the ceiling, right, with the pan down. That's done so well, so you don't see what the killer looks like. And comes up there, and that's iconic. As soon as he turns, before he turns, that's of course the room where Mother is at. Not for long. Comes out, boom, like that. The iconic slash on the face, and then he tumbles back.
It's the way it's done. He's like that, isn't it? It's
like Vertigo a little bit. Yeah.
And they do recreate that scene again in one of the sequels to come, but
goes all the way down,
not to that level.
Falls, right, because he's kind of like slipping down the stairs a little bit, right, trying to catch his bearing, falls down. Then you see the knife, like all that stuff too. Yeah, so good.
I think one of the best deaths on camera I've ever seen in a film.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah. So you've got Lila now and Sam. They think something's happened to Arbogast because he said he would be in contact, and they've heard nothing.
He doesn't want to go. She does, and then he's like, "F it, okay,
right, yeah,
all right, yeah, I'll go with you." Yeah.
So they go and see the sheriff, don't they? Late at night, they go and knock.
Yeah, they do, finding out the history of what's going on here.
Right. So yeah,
I think they go there first, right? They find out the place where they're at, because I think they come back later, kind of in disguise and stuff like that too. Yeah. Which we'll kind of get to that. That's pretty good. But yeah, go ahead, Darren.
So they explain the situation to the sheriff. The sheriff kind of gives Norman a phone call and hints that you know, something bad happened to all of this, like 10 years ago.
Yeah, the wife's there right next to him.
Yeah. They tell Lila that Norman Bates' mother is dead, because she obviously thinks she's still alive.
Explained how that happened too, which is like, damn.
Right. So basically, Norman had poisoned her lover, and then. So yeah, so basically,
put strychnine in their tea.
Strychnine, yeah. So the mother and the boyfriend were both dead, you know, which part 4 will explain all that we need to explain.
He explained a little bit of what kind of happened with that, because we don't know how. You don't know it was him that did it. I don't think he explained that, because he was kind of part of that. He was like kind of devastated him and stuff like that. So.
That's right, because at this point he's not been to prison or anything, is he?
Yeah, because I think they go there first, and she sees somebody in the window. She goes back and asks them, I think when they're coming out of church or whatever like that, like going, because the mother's there. I'm like going, no, she's not. She's passed. Yeah, and and it's like, no, she died. And all this other stuff too, which makes it like a little more twisted.
Right. So now I remember now. So what they said was that the mother actually poisoned the lover.
Yeah.
And then she went on to commit suicide by poisoning herself. So that's, as we all know later on in the films, it was Norman. But at this point, he's completely deemed to be innocent.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more like scary, really.
Almost like a paranoid schizophrenic.
Yeah. So there's that, you know, but then we hear, like, you know, after they visit, you know, the sheriff, and he tells them all this, you know, all that's been happening. We hear Norma's voice, like, and she's saying, "Don't put me in the fruit cellar," you know, again. And
all right, he picks her up, right, because it shows that top scene again, the same exact camera, which is so well done.
Yeah,
like, I don't want to do that. Well, mother, you just gonna have to, because that's where you kind of don't know. Is like on. Maybe she can't walk. Maybe she's alive, you know, just helping them out.
Yeah, because we don't know, actually. We don't know all this now at this point.
They get a room. They pose as a couple. They get a room there. They ask him the questions and stuff like that, because he's like, you know, and the dude is making like, I'm supposed to sign in, right? You know?
Yeah.
Because he's worried, you know, Bates is worried. And he goes like this and stuff like that too. He's like going, and he's picking the whatever keys. And he goes, okay, thank you, and all this other stuff too. They go in there, they tell what they're going to do. So they notice that something's up with cabin 1. So she does, because he's talking to him, I think.
Yeah.
Distracting him.
Yeah, distracting him, stalling him, basically.
And it's just so so well done as she goes in there, and I think she spots something. By the way, Keith made a good point too. The first time a toilet was used or shown in a scene in a film.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
the old
Yeah.
school toilet
Yeah.
there, that has the hanging thing where you pull from them, like going, what, I wonder how they did that. Like, so that's a
And
plumbing
that was
thing.
so shocking as well for
Yeah.
1960, like just to see a toilet.
And they
which
see
is
something. Oh,
crazy.
that's right. She's flushing something. Oh, that's right. Because Lee's character was writing stuff down, and then she decided to rip up the paper. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She wrote 40,000. She was trying to subtract like
Yeah,
the
she was
seven.
trying to
I think the
subtract it.
£700 from the car.
Yeah.
Because she wants to put it back and what have you.
Yeah, so she tears it up, but didn't flush the toilet or didn't do it all the way.
It didn't go down properly.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think is like Giallo-esque in this is, so you've got Lila and Sam, and they play like the amateur sleuths, which we get a lot in Giallo
Yeah,
films.
of course we do. Yeah.
So this has got to be an influence in. It's definitely an influence for The Girl Who Knew Too Much.
Very good looking
Without a
people playing
shadow
the
of a doubt.
amateur sleuths there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. I mean, we might as well go all the way and spoil it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Everyone's seen it type of thing. So Lila and Sam, like you say, they pretend to be this couple. Sam kind of confronts Norman then, doesn't he? And he knocks out Sam.
He does. He knocks him out.
We don't know, to what extent at this point, whether he's killed him or what,
Yeah.
But yeah, Lila then goes up to the house, and she kind of hides, doesn't she? Because Norman comes back and catches her in the house.
Or she goes in there and then she's like looking around, trying to figure out what's kind of going on here, because she wants to figure out about the mother, right? And
yeah.
I think he goes up to the bedroom. I think she goes up to the bedroom. I think she does, and sees whatever maybe possibly is in there. She's looking for stuff. And she's looking for stuff. Then she goes into the cellar. You see a rocking chair with the back face turned towards her in the cellar. She goes in there. She turns on the light, I think. She goes around, turns it around. Then you see the corpse of good old Mrs. Bates, and she screams. And then you see the iconic scene of Perkins, of Norman Bates, coming in there with the big smile on his face, like that, with
dressed like a transvestite as well, in a dress.
Then the dude comes up behind him, and it's a scene like that where he's like, oh, like that. Finally drops the knife.
Yeah.
So good. And then it just shows, I think, the dead mother there for like a second, and then it fades out to where we're going to get to.
But the way he acts in that scene, Anthony Perkins, like when he's being held back, like the just look of horror on Vera Miles' face, and it's just brilliant.
He's very menacing at that point. He is very menacing. You're like, oh shit, you see that? That's one of the biggest shocks like ever. You're like, whoa, like,
and you can see why De Palma's Dress to Kill was massively influenced by this film.
Oh god, this was probably, like I say, influential film. Like a bunch of people like look at this. Like I said, this is based off of Ed Gein, which would bring forth Tobe Hooper's masterpiece, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs. I mean, come on, you can't.
Deranged. There's a film called Deranged.
Yeah. Friday the 13th. The alternate personalities, the music. It's like it's almost hand in hand with these films. It's great.
Oh god, absolutely, yeah. But like you say, Lila sees the corpse in the fruit cellar, and then you've got a really strange ending, really, because they kind of like tell you
it's the psychiatrist, that starts talking about the character.
Yeah, they kind of explain everything, which again we didn't know at the time.
It's almost a second ending. It's almost it has two endings to it, if you want to look at it like that.
Because he explains he's got two personalities. We find out that he's confessed to killing the two girls who went missing.
The police mentioned that too. The police mentioned that is like on there's two girls missing. It's like on, and the psychiatrist happens to mention it was his mother that killed him, not him, because it's
Right.
a totally separate entity. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So they find out then, now that they know that he poisoned his mother and her lover,
Yeah,
they eventually
strychnine.
work all this out. He's dug up her corpse and kept it preserved. Yeah, and then he's kind of talking. Norman's kind of talking in his own head.
Which we'll get with the fourth film because they changed that up a little bit.
Yeah,
But
they did. Yeah, yeah. It's like all 4 films stay pretty much like
oh, they play
most of the
consistent. Yeah.
storylines kind of tie up really well. I think the writing in all 4 are good, which we'll come on to. But he's talking in his own head as Mother as well, which is kind of very creepy. Amazing acting. The ending, I think, is superb.
Yeah, basically it's like he explains everything to Vera Miles' character and the dude that are sitting there just figure out what's going on, and then it shifts to the guards like giving Norman something like that, giving
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
They shut the door, then it pans to him. It's a great scene. Then you hear Mother talk where it's like, they will never suspect me. I'll just sit here.
yeah.
Hidden.
It's
It's fine. They'll
amazing.
never know. Then you see the iconic smirk of Anthony Perkins. He's just like sitting there. He's like, "Oh, I did it.
Which ends
I did it."
one of the sequels ends like that as well.
Yes.
And I'll come into that when we come into it because
Oh, dude. Yeah. It's like
it's almost like the Omen style ending with the little boy when he starts smiling. I'm sure that was the
which
Omen
Tom
kind of
Holland didn't want to happen with that film. That's a different story for a different time, but
right.
definitely.
But
That's
in
kind of how it
terms of
ended. Yeah.
yeah, in terms of this one, I can't give it anything lower than a 10 out of 10. It's not my favorite, which we'll come into, but it's almost a perfect film. There's nothing I would change about it at all.
I give it on Letterboxd. I said my feelings about the film. It got 4.5 out of 5 stars and a heart. One of the most, if not the most influential film ever made. It's definitely top 10. My score personally, it's a very strong 9 out of 10. The highest I go with anything, my personal opinion, because no film is perfect. But
Okay.
this is pretty damn close. It's easily top 10 or top 5 films of all time. It has to be. I don't know where it ranks in all-time films because I know the Academy has their top films of all time and their opinions. That always shifts and stuff like that. It's a great film. I'm shocked this didn't get any Academy Award nominations. I'm shocked this film did not.
Yeah, I think just because at the time it was kind of risky, subject with the transvestite and just
Everything.
killing in general, with the
Like I
knife.
said, based off the book by Robert Bloch. It's an all-time great writers here from Joseph Stefano. And great.
I think Robert Bloch wrote the book, but I think Stefano wrote the screenplay.
Yes,
wrote
wrote the screenplay. But like I say, this 4K has great special features on it. Of course, it's the Universal one, so it talks all about Hitchcock on here. Talks to his daughter. Talks to his confidant. I forget the dude's name. It might be Stefano. Everything talks about his life and stuff like that too. Talked to Janet Leigh, who looked very beautiful still at this time. She looked beautiful until the day she passed. Vera Miles talking to these people. So it's very cool. Very great 4K, of course. Very great set, of course, from Universal. But yeah, that's Psycho.
That's
ladies and gentlemen, what else can be said, of course, but yeah, legendary film. I'll just check up on the chat here real quick.
Yeah, go on, man. Yeah,
because I know my buddy Wild Wrangler is in here. Thank you very much for stepping in, Wild. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, back in 1990s, Sci-Fi Channel had Mother's Day Marathon, showed 1, 2, and 3, hosted by Estelle Harris. I remember that. That was done very well. Yeah. He had all the books bought that he could find, so the end wouldn't be spoiled. That's right. Yeah, Hitchcock did that and stuff like that too. They got the full right.
He wouldn't let you go in the cinema late as well, would he? Or
yes,
he wouldn't let people go in there late. Like just wanted like no one to ruin the ending as well.
What's going on, Jose Gomez? Thank you. I know you dropped in earlier and stuff like that from Chicago. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in and saying hi. Yeah, Sam Loomis. That's correct. How about those last names?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a
Which Carpenter used a lot as well in
yeah.
his films.
So I know. Sorry, just scrolling up here. Just give me a quick second. I know Faces for Radio, Dave and Rich, they stopped by to say hi. Thank you guys very much for stopping in saying hi. I know they're doing their live in a few, I believe, around 5, but it's all good. Let's see. Great rewatchable, even though it has a big reveal twist. Oh yeah, it's like 7. I mean, you know the ending to 7 after you watch it, but for the first time and stuff. But 7 is a great one, kind of too, for what it is. Yeah, 4.7 out of 5, very good. No problem there, Russell. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. Get some sleep, my brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I don't get enough of it. De Palma's shots in film are almost identical to Hitch's at time. Yeah, they called
They
him the
are,
second
yeah.
coming to Hitchcock. Sisters is the most kind of Hitchcockian film. That and Blowout, which doesn't get enough credit in my opinion.
I mean, Body Double as well, and
Body
Dress to
Double.
Kill. You can see a massive influence.
Body Double. Frankie Goes to Hollywood, the best shot-for-shot fake music video I've ever seen in my life.
We covered that on your channel not long ago,
yes,
and
we did.
I absolutely love that film. I didn't realize how much I liked that film until we went back and did it.
But yeah, like I say, overall thoughts on the OG Psycho. Yeah, it's a 9.5 or 10 out of 10. It's a
masterpiece
film and stuff like that too. It's like, but yeah, very, very good. All right, next up, to me, quite possibly the greatest horror sequel ever, done in 1983, directed by Richard Franklin, who did Patrick. He died real early too in his lifetime, unfortunately, like that. But he did some good films prior like this. But this film might be his best. That's Psycho 2, with Anthony Perkins.
He actually did Road Games as well, which starred
Stacy Keach. Yeah.
And what's it? Jamie Lee Curtis as well, which is
Jamie Lee Curtis. How about that?
Kind of
writers,
weird,
of course, are the writer for this, of course, is Tom Holland, of course, from Omen fame and also from Child's Play fame.
Yeah.
Wow. This one has a good special. This one is loaded. Like I say, this box set, you get this alone for Psycho 2. This is a great transfer for this. Loaded with special features, specifically a conversation with Tom Holland and Mick Garris. Quick thoughts on Mick Garris. The dude's kind of a douchebag. He makes a comment in here about, could I do without slashers? Yes. Because the host of that asked a question of both of them. It's like, because he called Psycho kind of a double-edged sword of what was later to come in horror and stuff like that too. But he basically doesn't like slashers in general like that. So that kind of put me off a little bit, but I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, we'll talk more about Mick Garris in part 4 because he directed that one.
Yes, he did, which is a good film. But like I said, directed by Richard Franklin, writers Tom Holland, of course. Robert Bloch had a say in this one too, because this is based off the book that he did called Psycho 2, which ends a little bit differently. Of course, the book is a little bit different. Norman Bates dies in the book. Spoiler, not in this one.
And he's a big, like, heavy-set guy in the book as well, Norman.
He was totally kind of different, which is fine. That happens all the time. Stars Anthony Perkins coming back as Norman Bates. Also, Vera Miles coming back as the sister, and Meg Tilly coming back as her daughter, Mary. Also, Dennis Franz is in here, and Robert Loggia is in here too, as is Good Doctor. Go ahead and do how this film starts out there, Darren.
Yeah, right. So quickly, I gotta get in. Like, this is my favorite of the 4.
Mine too.
By a mile as well.
Yeah,
it's not the best film as in the franchise, but it's my favorite.
This is my top. I forget. I think I ranked it 2 or 3 of my all-time slashers when you and I did that for our favorite ones. Yeah, it's way up there. It gets a 9.5 straight out of 10 for me. Yeah, but go ahead there, Darren.
So I'm gonna have a bit of a hot take on this one because I prefer the music from Jerry Goldsmith in this one to the original. I mean, it's just so like calming and like it's just so melodic. The theme.
It's
amazing.
Quick thing about this film came out 83. So this is what it had to compete with: E.T., The Thing, The Empire Strikes Back, or not The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I mean, this was a year for films. The opening with Universal, one of the greatest openings of all time, all of Friday the 13th, all of Halloween 2. So this kind
Yeah,
of set the
yeah.
stage a little bit like that. So good with that, where it just shows that it shows the shower scene kill, and then it pans out the window, which is not there. I don't think
Right.
there was a
Yeah,
window.
yeah.
That's not supposed to be there. But still it's done so where it shows the house and then it just starts, right? So
It kind of bringing you up to speed with the first film, because at that
yes,
time, I mean, you'd only even see these on TV or
the
maybe in,
graininess, 80ness of
yeah,
the
yeah.
graininess of the 80s for this time, and then the film just starts out Psycho 2 with the crack.
Right,
Right.
yeah. But like you said with I think Meg Tilly, who plays Mary, is the shining star in this film to me. And I think Anthony Perkins and her didn't get along on set because he realized that she was upstarting him. She was, in my opinion, there's not much in it, mind. I think she outdoes him.
Upstaging him a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think she so yeah,
Which
so
the
basically
scenes are
then,
great with them together. It's crazy to think that there's just a switch there, right? You can like
right,
some,
yeah,
you know,
you generally think the chemistry between those two would be amazing
yeah,
just by watching them, when she's sympathetic towards him a bit later on.
almost like she's
But
falling in
no,
love
they,
with him.
yeah, but they
Yeah,
hated each other. So to set this one up, it's 22 years after the first film. Norman's been released. He's deemed to be mentally okay to go back into society. And you've got Marion Crane's sister, Lila. She's putting this protest in the court, about
oh, that turn where she's
um,
like, "No, don't do it." Then you see
yeah,
then you see
yeah.
Norman turn like they're a little bit like that, and all this other stuff too. Like say
So
Robert
yeah.
Loggia plays his doctor.
Oh, he's an amazing actor as well.
Yeah,
I
he's a great
mean,
actor.
I grew up with watching him in all sorts of stuff. But so yeah, so he's basically been let out. His old house in the Bates Motel. Norman again thinks he sees his figure, as he comes back.
He
And he
comes
has
back
like,
to live in the house. Yeah, live
yeah,
in that damn house.
he has like flashbacks when he's in the house as well.
Yeah.
But he basically gets a job in a diner nearby. That's where we brought into Mary, the
We
character
get
Meg Tilly,
we get introduced to Miss Poole, one of the
a
waitresses there,
major player in the
a
scenes.
major player in this, where she goes,
Yeah,
"Oh, you must be Norman. Hi, I'm Miss Poole," and stuff like that. And nobody has a problem with it except for that bitch waitress that's there and stuff like that too. I mean,
yeah.
it starts out whatever like that because they got a job for him there. He comes back. We get introduced to the shady Mister. Oh God, what's his name? Played by Dennis Franz. That shady dude.
To
Yeah,
me.
Mr. Toomey, that
Oh
dude.
god.
Dennis Franz, he has that point. It's crazy. De Palma films and of course Alfred Hitchcock and
Do
in
you
the
know, right?
sequel.
Another actor who can play a fucking asshole as well as him. Let me know, because there's not one, I don't think.
Yeah.
He just nails that asshole character down to a T. He's just amazing.
Was
But
it the
yeah,
first film that he mentions that Norman mentions that he usually does the night shift and stuff like that too, where somebody else does the day? Was that in the first one or was that in the later
I
one?
think they mentioned that in the third one.
Third one. Okay.
Um,
Okay, go ahead,
yeah.
Darren. Yeah.
But I was gonna say, so Meg Tilly, Mary, she's having like boyfriend problems. So
Yeah, so you think.
during
Yeah.
her shift, yeah, she's trying to ring her boyfriend. He's kind of finished with her. Yeah, like
Yeah,
just
because
said, so
she's
you
talking
think.
on the phone to somebody who you think is her boy, who you think is her boyfriend. All this stuff is going on. Yeah,
And I
definitely.
mean, yeah, later we know different, but
Yeah, right.
so basically she's stuck. She's got nowhere to go, so she says. And Norman being Norman, and I don't know about you, but he's so sympathetic in this. I know he's known to be a killer in the first,
You
but
root for him in here.
you root for him. I
Yeah.
think all the way through now.
Yeah. He's a sympathetic character. Like I say,
Yeah.
before Jigsaw, before John Kramer, you have Norman Bates, a sympathetic villain,
It is
a villain
crazy.
that you root for a little bit.
It is, and that's where the writing is so well done. It makes you root for a serial killer. and
Yeah.
and you don't feel no, you don't feel no remorse for doing that,
Which is done so well about this film because it's a more shallow whodunit type of situation than you might think. It's like
I
crazy.
mean, this is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she goes then, she basically goes back to Norman's. He says, you can basically stay here as
It
long as you
starts
want.
raining, I think it is.
Another,
Again,
one of those scenes. They
starts
start
raining, like pouring.
rain.
She offers to stay, and then
It's so like Chris said. Then we first meet up with the Warren Toomey character, Dennis Franz. He's working at the hotel, and he's basically treating it like a freaking drug den, or like
yeah, it's a
people
drug
having
den, like where people
parties
have
and
sex and all this stuff. Because I think he
orgies
sees
and
some
bullshit.
people like that, and he's just like so nice about it, not mad about it. He's like going, you know what, you're done here, Mr. Toomey.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
going,
Because he
I'll
tells
take care of
Mary,
that and stuff like
go
that
on to the
because he's
house.
running it for him. Yeah, he's going like, this is the way it goes, man. If you want money, this is the way to do it.
I think it's implied that Toomey's like a drug dealer as well. That's what I read.
Just like a shady type of person. It's like,
But then he goes off on one, then Toomey goes, "You loony!"
yeah, you loony and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Killer, like loony, whatever. Guys, he's
And he says something about what have you ever like? I give our customers what they want, drugs and sex. He goes, "What have you ever given? Death."
What have
You've given them death.
Yeah, you give them death. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant.
This is when stuff stops to happen. He starts seeing notes. He starts seeing things around the house, and at his job, where Mr. Toomey comes in there and he sees him, so he starts, with the waitress and all this other stuff too, with Tilly's character of Mary. He it's like, are you staying with him? Do you know what he's done and stuff like that too? And she's sticking up for him or whatever like that. He's like telling the cook about, basically taking the orders and stuff like that. Something is written on one of those tickets, right?
It is. Yeah,
he doesn't see it yet. And then he does. There's like a scene, something happens where, he drops the fries or something like that, and the grease gets on the,
basically, Toomey's trying it on with the waitress Mary as well. He's being a
that's right. It's like mothers and stuff like that. He calls Mary's character a slut and all this other stuff too. And it's like the note disappears, and he's like, "There was a note. What are you talking about?" It's like, it's right here.
Yeah.
It's like he's like, dude, something's going on here. It's like it can't be. It just can't be, and all that other stuff.
What I know it shouldn't be funny, but what's so funny about that scene is where Toomey's like saying to Mary, what's it like to sleep with a psycho? And like she's just kind of, putting him off a little bit. But then she calls him like fat boy, and she starts insulting him back. And then all this is going on, and the notes, and it's an amazing scene.
Like it ends up going because she says, I got a room with my roommate. And she's not there. He goes back to his house. He looks out the window, and Toomey is packing up his stuff and, putting it in his car. And he goes, I'm getting out of here, you psycho, blah, 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 and all this other stuff too.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Goes back in there. He's in the studio, and and oh my God, this scared the bejesus out of me to this day. He's like doing something. You see a figure walk in. He turns, and that look on his face, it's like a mask or something like that, but he's all
you can kind of tell it's
like it's like a mask with aesthetic, and he's like all like that. Then you see him like slice him a little bit, and he's like like that, and then just does whatever like that. I'm like, dude, my God, that's so good.
I can imagine, right? He's such an asshole character. Like, if you'd have watched this back in the cinema back in the day, you can imagine all the crowd would have been shouting on their feet, get him, get. And that's where you say you're siding with Norman over, a lot of these other characters, which is crazy. But
what's great about these films too is this is not a typical slasher. It does not have a high body count, but that is not what this is about. You don't need a high body count. You don't need a body count to have a great slasher, in my opinion. You just don't.
Right. I would say this is possibly the more mainstream of the sequels or of the series.
It has to be. Everything like the credits are in red. Everything's in like black and red. Anthony Perkins, who looks really good in here, in like that black like turtleneck type of a shirt and stuff like that through here.
And I just got to touch upon a scene a little bit earlier where he's in the house with Meg Tilly, and he kind of does a sandwich, and then you think it's just a little
Oh, that's
scene.
right. He's getting ready with the knife. She's looking for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
knife. She's looking for the knife. Yeah.
And you can tell that
She
something's up
doesn't
because
want to do it. Yeah.
she looks at him and like they both pause, and he's as if to say, "Why won't you cut the sandwich with a knife?" And I mean that's done so well.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's just a little bit
I
earlier.
just
But
want to put this up here. Wild says it right. Yeah. Chris Pops does not like Meg Tilly. No, he does not. No, he
oh
does not.
wow, that's crazy. I love her.
It's
I do. I think
because
she's
of the
amazing.
relationship between her and Perkins during that filming and stuff like that too. So I
Right.
mean, I don't know. So
I
other than
mean,
that, it's a great film and she does a great job. They do a great job
she's the
together.
perfect kind of girl next door type.
I think at this time too, she's trying to get him, for something here.
Yeah,
And then she
yeah.
becomes that sympathetic figure towards the end. To your
Kind of
point.
turns at one point. Yeah.
He starts getting phone calls where it's his mother who he's talking to, but that you're like, wait a minute, where you thinking maybe it's somebody else. So
Yeah. So we kind of we work it out who it is. It tells you a
of
little bit
course,
later on. But Norman, when he gets to the house, he realizes like he goes in his mother's room, and it's like nothing's changed from like 22 years ago.
yeah,
And he's
right.
like, so
It's like
who's
really,
done that?
yeah. Who's done that? That's what I like about this too. Is it goes more into the house. It shows you everything in that house. It shows
Yeah,
what the
yeah,
mother's bedroom looks like. Because there's
exactly. Yeah,
supposed to be sheets in there, and he's like, somebody's been here, mom's here, mother's here, and something like that. Goes in there, all the sheets are back on everything, and he's like,
yeah. So someone's either fucking with him or he's losing his
somebody's
mind.
been there. Yeah,
Yeah. And then he sees this note, then he says, Norman, get rid of that slut or I will kill her mother.
I will kill her.
I mean,
There
fuck,
is a
man.
scene, I think that comes after that. This is very campy slasher. These two kids,
Oh, yeah.
these two youngins, right, where they think the house is still abandoned. The boyfriend and the girlfriend, find the place to the cellar, that open window, which a lot of those old
Yeah.
school houses have. That's a good nod too to the other Psycho films because you see a scene in that same window where some prints are still there, which is kind of very cool.
Right.
They both
Yeah.
go in there. They're just smoking their stuff. She's like, "No, I'm good," whatever, like that. They kind of do something a la Friday the 13th, like a little bit,
It's
and then
exactly like Friday the 13th.
they see the figure, which looks like a woman. Of course, the shadow, they still do that very good. There's obviously a place where you shovel coal into to heat up the house,
Yeah.
which leads up to that window and stuff like that. She gets out, he does not, which is very interesting, and she just runs away. And I think contacts the authorities later, right? And
Right.
you see him kind of get killed, which is that cool kind of scene like that where you see the hand just go down like a
In
little
the
bit like
window.
that, and then
Yeah.
she leaves. Done very well with that. Is very good.
You could take that scene out of this and put it in any Friday the 13th sequel.
Oh yeah.
And it would work. It would work in that context.
They did that on purpose in here because we know the
It
slasher
has to
boom in
be.
the early 80s,
Yeah.
like, scenes like that get put in here.
It has to be, yeah.
Yeah, Tom
Exactly.
Holland knew what he was doing with this. Tom Holland's an interesting cat. That's all I'm going to say about that.
But then we see for the first time, we see the sheriff, then he shows up. He questions him about the boy's disappearance. He questions
Yeah, because the girl
Norman.
mentions that. He says, it's like going, yeah, sure. He does it because he doesn't know. He's like, yeah. They go into the basement or they go into the cellar. They look around, right? Because he's wondering, like going, no, everything's fine here. Yeah, there's no issues. Like going, okay, Norman.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. The thing is as well, Mary's locked him in the attic while all this was going on in the cellar. So
that's right. The
there's
door
no
closes
possible way.
because she's like, it doesn't. There's no lock on the door, so
Right.
she
So he
puts
can't
something
get out.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that he didn't kill these two kids, or this one boy, sorry, in the in the cellar. But it's like, we're trying to work out, what's going on. It's still, very shady. We just don't know.
Very, very good whodunit that keeps you on the edge of your seat. You're like, holy shit.
And she kind of lies for him as well. So when the sheriff turns up, Mary kind of lies and said she was with Norman all along.
Right? She says, "I was here the whole time," and stuff like that, because she's feeling. I think at this time she's feeling sympathetic towards him. I think she's getting done with the bullshit.
This is
Like,
where it changes. Yeah,
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 this is where it changes.
yeah.
It's like, no, he was here with me all the time. You know.
And then she kind of confronts him, and then he comes out with that great line, doesn't he? It's
Yeah.
starting again.
It's starting
And
to
it's
get
like,
right where she goes behind him
yeah,
and stuff like that and starts hugging him, like going, "It's okay. It's okay."
yeah,
I'm like
yeah,
going, almost like a mother figure, right? Where she
yeah,
kind of holds him by the
exactly.
head and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah,
like, hot damn, dude. It's like,
because they get kind of close together, but there's nothing like in it, like sexually or anything like that. It is kind of a father kind of daughter
yeah, kind of daughter thing. But
style
I think at
of,
this point she's feeling sorry for him, and she's starting. Anthony Perkins was a good looking cat. And she's starting to kind of fall for him a bit. And Meg Tilly is a banger in this one. But
But I mean, as the viewer as well, we're starting to be so sympathetic towards him, because we possibly,
like, it's
know it
starting
can't be
again
him.
because he feels like he's going kind of insane. I mean, because the doctor, the good doctor, comes and visits him once, and then unexpectedly comes again because he's trying to figure out what's going on, because he has a conversation with them. It's like going, "I'm
Yeah,
getting these calls from mother and stuff like that." And he goes, "Norman, that's not true." That's where they go to the grave. That's when they go to the graveyard and they dig up. They
right.
dig up his
Yeah,
mother's grave and open up the coffin. And he's like,
yeah,
"Okay, I'm good."
exactly. Yeah, and at this point, then we work out that Mary is actually the daughter of Lila. Um, so Mary would have been Marion Crane, who died in the first one, the blonde, would
Yeah.
have been
Well, they say it's like
her
20
aunt.
years after. It's like 20
Yeah,
years after. So they
22,
say
I
it's
think.
20 years after. So that's about right. It's good that they got Miss Mills back as the character. She looks good
Yeah,
in this one too. Plays that part. I didn't recognize her at first. Then I had to look to make sure it's the same actress. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's her."
yeah. So basically, the two of them have been in cahoots together now, and they're trying to
Right, because they
turn.
meet in the hotel
Uh,
that she's staying at.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's interesting because they're having an argument because Mary's telling her mom to stop. It's like,
exactly.
"Dude,
Yeah,
just leave it
yeah,
alone. It's done with." It's like, "You know who he's killed? He killed your aunt," and all this
right.
other stuff too. And
Yeah,
he's like, "Let it go." You see the hotel clerk watching them and hearing them like a little bit arguing, and she's telling her to just like calm down and stuff like that. But that's very telling towards the end of this film.
exactly. Yeah. So Mary starts to like feel sorry for him. But she's in the house and she suspects like someone's watching her through like one of the peepholes again.
Right? She
Um,
takes a shower.
yeah, yeah. And that was a body double, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that
A
was her
body
actual
double.
naked.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
that's a body double.
Meg Tilly, when she said she's doing the film, she's not going to do nude scenes. Um, but yeah, so we find out, is it him watching or is it someone else? We just don't know. But
Which it is that third person. Yeah, there's like that
yeah,
because she
yeah,
sees the hole later, but nobody's in there because there's a picture on there. I think then something is kind of taken off, and then I think
right,
she looks in there for
yeah,
a little bit, and she's like, the married character says, "Mom." It's like because she thinks she's in the house at
yeah,
towards the end there, she thinks she's in the house.
yeah,
What you
yeah,
figure out, she's in the house because when getting up towards the climax here, a little bit of it, she goes through that window through the wine cellar. She goes to one of because it's like a brick layered floor. She opens up one of the stones, and guess what we see? We see a wig, and we see the butcher knife. You figure
yeah,
out that's her in that peephole doing some of that stuff, playing the
yes,
silhouette. You figure out it's Mill's character doing that. She's getting ready to put it on, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
tell you, turns around, does the scream. You see the shadow there, the butcher knife right in her mouth. Now that's really like hardcore, like
that is
that.
straight from the scene of Haste by the Cemetery. That is the knife fucking scene at the start of Haste by the Cemetery.
And
Um,
Holland made fun of that a little bit. He's like, "A preps to her for having that happen to her, because they talked to Mills about that and stuff like that." She's like, "Oh,
yeah,
cool, okay, something like that, kind of an
right.
end to kind of shut her up personally and stuff like that too." Yeah, great,
Um,
great, great, typical '80s slasher kill with that. Yeah,
oh, like again, Friday the 13th. But what we see now, or just a little bit before that was, in fact, was he basically says from the phone calls coming in, like, that it's his real mother, not,
Right. He starts to realize that where you see the shift there a little bit. It's like going, because the
yeah,
married character is like Norman, who is, it's like, it's my mother. No, my real mother. No, he
not
tells that
mother.
to the doctor. He tells that
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
doctor. Yeah,
yeah,
it's my
yeah,
real mother. What are you talking about? He's like, I was adopted or something like that. Something, because he gives a
yeah.
little bit of which is very interesting with that.
And they find Toomey's car as well in the swamp, or they find Toomey's like
Right. Mary goes there and
clothes.
just sees that, right?
Yeah,
Open it up and stuff like that. And
and then
the
it's the
sheriff goes,
body.
don't you need to be somewhere? Because he doesn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
see her again. He's like, don't you want to be somewhere? And they just open it up and you just see the disgust on their face, like, whoa, and all this other stuff.
yeah. And I mean, that swamp comes into play a lot, doesn't it, in the series, to be honest. But yeah, so the phone call from Dr. Raymond, Norman believes is his mother, even though it's the doctor, at this point, like, he's starting to think he's going mad himself.
Well, the doctor goes back in, which is interesting. These characters seem to sneak into this house because he's trying to figure out what's going on. And then the doctor calls from a room where the person is at, is like, oh, this is where the call's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the phone, which is very interesting.
It is, yeah. So when they tell, like, basically he's getting voices now, like telling him to kill Mary when Mary's in the house.
Yeah.
I think we're up to that point. And she dresses up as his mother and starts talking to him.
It gets to that point where she's like, she goes and calls him on the phone, says it's me and stuff like that too. First off, she goes, finds the stuff. She goes into the wine cellar to get the dress and everything that's in there. Then you see the pile of coal that's in the corner. Then you see the face of her mom, which is great. Whoever did the practical effects and makeup, I forget who did it, did a great job with this, because she doesn't know until later. But then she goes back up, because she doesn't know. Then she goes back to him and you see him on the phone talking to his mother. And then you see her, she goes, Norman, right? And that's a great scene where she's sitting there, Norman, it's your mother.
Where do you think they got that scene from?
Oh,
Amy Steele from Friday.
Oh, yeah. Possibly.
She's trying to talk. It has to be, man.
Oh, yeah, it has to be.
She starts talking in her mother's voice.
Has the dress on, has the wig on, all this stuff.
Trying to talk him out of here. And it's
while the doctor is in the house.
It's got so many influences, man.
Yeah. And while the doctor is in the house, she goes upstairs to the phone and starts doing that. And that's a good scene because she's starting to cry. She's like, Norman, and all this other stuff too. He sneaks up behind her. She has the butcher knife.
Yeah.
And then accidentally stabs him. And boy, that scene keeps the knife in him. He falls off and then all of a sudden hits one of the steps. Boom, and then down. He's done. He's done.
He has like the knife in his hand as well. And he's just, oh man. Yeah, it's an amazing scene. But yeah, so he completely snapped at this point. We think, like,
that's
Norman,
when he sees her with the knife and all this other stuff too. She like runs away from him and just go ahead and take it from there, Darren.
Yeah. So like basically he snaps. She kind of protects herself with the knife. In entering the fruit cellar, she sees Lima Loomis's body buried in the coal, which I think Chris said.
With the mouth open and stuff like that, all grayed out looking. I'm like, damn, dude.
Amazing scene. But as she goes to stab him, she's shot dead by the police.
Like, you killed him. You did it. Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
Shoots him, and then you see the wig fall off into the dirt outside from the door.
Yeah.
Right? You see him go boom like that, and she turns, because you don't see her fall, but you see that, and that's when it kind of fades out.
And at this point, like, all bets are off, because you're watching this for the first time, you're thinking, holy shit.
Yeah, these sequences, all at once, it really ramps up big time.
And the writing as well, it all ties up together. There's no real cheats in it. It's all done really, tallies
Holland
up really
is an all-timer. Tom Holland is an all-timer here. God, he's done some great horror and stuff like that too. To get him for the writer for this was a great idea.
I think this is his best
Richard Franklin, these two, boy, how about that?
Yeah. So basically, the police kind of assume that Mary's been doing all the killings, but they're wrong, obviously. Oh man, then we got the Mrs. Spool character.
That's why I mean, it's like the police officer says, yeah, it was her. She did it all and stuff like that, telling all the police this and all this other stuff. Do you see Norman just sitting there, almost like with the first one with the towel over him and stuff like that? He's like,
yeah,
hey, Norman, I'll take you home, right? Because the sheriff is a sympathetic figure towards him. He's like, he hasn't done anything wrong.
They're
like,
all
right,
really
Norman.
nice to him. Yeah.
It's kind of a cool scene where you hear the music and stuff like that because it's just him. He's all alone. And, he goes to the kitchen, which has a door of its own, like a screen door. He starts making like sandwiches or stuff like that. Then you get the knock on the door. Then you see it's Mrs. Poole in the door.
And he was basically expecting her as well. Because she turns up, he said, she says something like, were you expecting me? He said, yeah.
You're my
mother.
Yeah.
This scene is fucking incredible. Like, it's
great.
So she shows up. She tells him, the backstory of she's
I was your mom. I was Norma's sister. Finds out she has mental issues of her in her own right.
So Norma Bates was actually her sister. Yeah, she had to give him up as a baby because she was very young, and Miss Spool ended up in a mental home herself, and she's kind of talking to him on the level that they're both completely fucking mad, and she thinks he's exactly the same.
She says it in one by one by one,
But what's so weird that all this changes in one of the other sequels as well. The actual story.
Yeah, it does.
But for this, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
In fact, she's anyone who's harmed Norman in this film was her doing the killing, Miss Spool.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the whole spade scene, man? I mean, it is funny.
Well, the first thing is right, because when he makes teeth for the first time, you see the old tin in there, right? They always keep that tin there with the special tea that he gave to his parents.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which doesn't have any strychnine in it. He doesn't, you don't see him put that in there. He gives it to her and he mentions something, right? He happens to have the spade there, like leaning up on the counter. And she's like, he says something to her and she's like, what? As she starts to whatever like that. And then the ding,
it comes out of fucking nowhere. And I mean, right, honestly, if you look back on that scene, it is so funny, but so fucking brutal at the same time. Because like you say, you're expecting him to poison her.
Yeah.
And then when there's nothing in her tea because she drinks it or what have you, and then he just picks up, he just goes bang,
ding, just the sound of it. She convulses for a second, then that's it, and then just picks her up, and then you hear her. Then you hear mother going, Norman, put me next to the window. He's like, yes, mom.
I gotta laugh at Gore's comment there. He goes, that fucked me up as a kid. He goes, that scene just ain't right. Honestly,
you're talking about The Fly a little bit too. So in the chat, just having a great time us talking about that. And like you say, you hear the mother go, set me up next to the window. It's like, Norman, what is it? Get me something? Yes, mother.
It's
okay. It's like, what is it? Stuff's going to it's like, oh, that's right. Turn on the hotel lights. We need business here. We're losing money and all this other stuff too. Boy,
the whole saying so he carries his mother's body, doesn't he? From the room.
That iconic scene, which they switch it up right from the top of the whatever, that holds her up, puts her up, and puts her back in the chair near the window.
Right. Yeah. So, what you've got to think of now in mother's voice now. So this is how it goes. She goes, "I'm not sleepy. Put me in my chair. Now turn me to the window. I want to keep my eyes on you.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't start playing with filthy girls again."
Ken.
She goes, "What are you gawking at? Go downstairs and open the motel. What do you expect us to live on? Hope?
Yeah,
remember, Norman, I'm the only one who loves you. Only your mother truly loves you." What an ending.
He walks out. Basically, it's this scene right here, but you see the house in the background, right?
Yeah.
It's all thunder and color. You see the light, and then that's it. And I'm like, and that's Psycho 2, ladies and gentlemen.
And that melodic type theme plays out the credits as well, which I love. By far for me, the best film in the franchise.
It is. bar
Not the
none.
best, not the best made, but the most entertaining, I think.
The 80s were the decade of slashers and the campy slashers and the slasher films. And it was definitely a sign for the times, but they added its own twist on it. Like I say, Richard Franklin, great director, may he rest in peace. He died real early in his life.
Yeah.
That's
A
unfortunate.
standing performance from Meg Tilly. Norman, obviously, Anthony
All
Perkins,
star
amazing.
people here. Like I say, Tom Holland as the writer. It's insane. These heavy hitters. A quick thing which I didn't know. I guess there's a cameo from Perkins, one of Perkins' sons. I guess the youngest, playing a young Norman. I guess he
Right,
had
I
an
didn't even know that.
uncredited scene in that. I'd have to check that out. I did not see that, and maybe another cut. But it's an uncredited scene where it's one of his sons is in here as a young Norman Bates, which would be very cool if that's the case.
Okay, yeah.
But like I said, it gets a 9.5 out of 10 for me. It's a masterpiece of a film. It's an all timer. You'd never think you'd get a film like this ever. 20 years, and it's.
I mean, the odds were against this ever being any good.
Yeah, because Perkins didn't want to do it. I think there was a deal going on or something like that, where he goes, "Yeah,
Right.
I'll do it," and stuff like that. Like I say, this release right here, this box set is meant for this alone. Great release by Arrow. A shitload of extras on here. I mean, a bunch of extras on here. There's an extra talking to Mick Garrison, Tom Holland. That's a very good interview. The score, archival, introduction by Richard Franklin. Archival footage of Anthony Perkins sitting there at the Psycho House and stuff like that, back from the 80s, just talking about the film. Him, archival interview talking to Anthony Perkins. I love the way he talked in real life and stuff like that, saying all nice stuff about Meg Tilly and stuff like that. No, she was a great actress, which he's probably telling the truth. Yeah, she was a great actress. It's like basically
They hated
what it
each other,
was,
man.
And but yeah, all in all, just great release. Highly recommend it. If you've not seen this. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah,
probably the best sequel ever made. I'd even slightly put it above Exorcist 3. Slightly, not a lot.
That's what I mean. It's like Exorcist 3 is like kind of like an unofficial sequel to it, because we did get Exorcist 2. But I mean, but I've said that because I don't think of any. Tell you the truth, I said quite possibly is the greatest horror sequel ever made. It probably is, because
it probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that comes horror wise comes close to this, really. People would maybe say Friday the 13th Part 2 because people like that one a lot. But yeah, Psycho 2, yeah. I mean, Halloween 2, it's all.
I mean, like 22 years later to come out with such a banging film is just like unheard of, really. And I'm glad, in a way, though, even as much as I like Part 2, I am glad that they went on and did 3 and 4, which we're going to talk about.
Yes, we
because
are.
These films have got something going for them as well. I don't
Yeah,
know if
they
you want to go for the comments, Chris.
Great franchise. Yeah, just checking up on the comments here. The Fly is another great experience. Thanks, Jane Doe, for coming on, aka Mom, Jeff's mother. Very cool to see her in here. Great lady and stuff like that too. And nice. We have Miss Caveman in here. What's going on, Miss Caveman? Hope you're doing good. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Let's see. I saw Jeff up here. There we go. How's it going, Jeffrey? Thanks for joining.
Hey, Jeff.
Saying hi. Check out his channel. Does great work. Fellow geeky brother, man. Something geeky in the collection. Check us all out. Just got home from work. May have to catch this on replay after I watch these movies. Oh, God. See, like you said with me and stuff like that, watching certain Giallos for the first time, the great experience is worth it. Worth it definitely by itself. Definitely.
These are all worth watching time and time again.
Oh, yeah. Just great stuff. And like I say, Meg Tilly's done some other great stuff after this and stuff like that too. It's a good starting point for films like this. But yeah, just that scene with her crying on the phone and stuff like that. She's like, come on, and stuff like that.
So with Meg Tilly, right, she's got her own YouTube channel. She's not really talked about Psycho 2 a lot. But she did actually go back, I think it was a year or two ago, and did an actual commentary on her YouTube channel. I think it's called...
very cool. That's very cool.
Called Meg's Cozy Tea Time, I think it's called, her channel. So if you do scroll back, you'll see a Psycho 2 commentary by her. unofficial one anyway.
Mr. Garcia makes a good point. This, along with Dream Warriors and Exorcist 3, are along the best horror sequels. Dream Warriors, yes. Dream Warriors, definitely. I forgot about that. That's
Dream
a lot
Warriors
of people
dropped off a little bit for me. I used to love that film, but it's kind of
for me. It brings
off.
back the characters like John Saxton's character, what's her name's character. Bringing them back, and then
Nancy, even
with Nancy, and kind of ending that officially, kind of in that franchise, whatever like that. So. No, I appreciate that, Keith. Thanks very much. Yeah, this was a big one from the start. I'm just so happy. The ones we're going to talk about in a minute are, I've seen 4, but it's been, over 20 years. 3 I had not seen. Thought maybe I had, but I had not seen 3 until recently.
Yeah.
So get to that in 1 second. Just give me a quick second, everybody. I'll be right back.
So anybody, definitely for like Cycle 3 and 4, let us know your views in the chat about what you think of them. Hopefully we can make this like entertaining, and the thing we're trying to do is basically trying to get people to go back and we'll give these another watch and enjoy them again. So I think they work on every level. Nostalgia, obviously, but just brilliant films in their own right, all 4. I was kind of shocked how much part 3 and 4 did hold up, actually. But let us know what your rankings are as well, in what order, because I'm sure me and Chris will go through our rankings at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to thank everybody again for the love and support for this great community and stuff like that. All great channels. Everyone, you're all great. This is a hobby of mine. And it's just great to show the love for these films with you all, and it's a great platform to do it. So I'd like to thank you all again for joining. We got good people here because it's a good franchise.
Go and vote as well on Gore's channel for the horror YouTuber of the month.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I posted that at the start. Vote for whoever you want. Great channels. And just check them all out, man, and check out their awesome reviews and their awesome content that they do. Always cool to be a part of this. All right. So next up is a film I was pleasantly surprised about. Mick Garris kind of dogs the film a little bit. Not really. This bombed. This really bombed at the box office, which is crazy to think nowadays.
I don't know why. I mean, if you put it up against the first 2, then it's never going to be as good as those 2. But for what it is,
like I say,
there's a lot to like.
Each film is unique. This is the most unique out of them all, in my opinion. That's Psycho 3, came out in 1986. That's right. I forgot to put the year on there. Directed by Anthony Perkins. Which nickname for Anthony is Tony. So Tony Perkins. It stars Deanna Scarwind and my goodness, Jeff Fahey. So Jeff Fahey was also in The Lawnmower Man. That's when I recognized him.
And Planet Terror as well. He was in.
And Planet Terror. Writers are Charles Edward Pugh, I believe you say it. One of the writers was, of course, like that. One quick note on Anthony Perkins, a very good piano player. He does Mozart in Psycho 2. That's him playing on that piano.
Is that actual him playing?
Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
I knew
he was intelligent. I know he's like Fulci, someone like that who's got a very high intelligence level. And you can see that the way he does his interviews as well. But I didn't know he played the piano.
Yeah, one thing about, like I say, Perkins is he was a big fan of Mr. Orwell or Orson Welles, and Hitchcock, of course. The opening scenes we're going to get to in 1 second here. Like I said, this is. I was talking to Darren off stream before we started this. This is a fever dream type of a film that reminds me a lot of something David Lynch would do. It's crazy to think about that. I mean, it's just a fever dream. Fahey's character as Duke is crazy.
Oh man, he's great.
But
and you've got Juliette Cummings in this from Friday the 13th Part 5, the redhead.
Yeah, the redhead.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I
I did
marked
not
out when I
know
seen
that.
her.
I did not know that. So,
Yeah,
just go
that
ahead and
I mean,
start with this very very cool film there, Darren.
yeah, yeah. So you've got, like I say, you've got Juliet Cummings. This film starts out, and I think there's kind of a real, would you say, like Catholic or
It
very
is.
holy feel to it? Which,
Yeah,
like Chris said, I think the first half of this film is very, yeah, it's hard to pinpoint what type of film it is. But
it
then
is
I will say,
Hitchcockian to the point about
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
nuns. Yeah, go ahead, Darren. Yeah,
I
go and
love
finish
all
with
that stuff, but it does turn. I will say it does turn into a straight-on slasher halfway through.
it. Yeah, a little
So
bit.
we hear this woman's voice at the start of the film, and it's like, there is no God.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean all the stuff with the nuns. So you've got, Maureen. She's this nun. She climbs up to the top of this kind of bell tower. She's about to throw herself off and commit suicide. She's screaming like, there is no God, there is no God. Um, and one of the older nuns trying to save her actually
yeah.
falls.
There's two of them up there. Yeah,
And it's kind of like the whole, like the nun aspect and the whole kind of religious aspect of the film, the score as well.
yeah.
It's really creepy. I don't know about you, but
Very good score for this too. It's very different. I like the score for this. Like I said, it's very Fever Dream is cool type score for this.
I love the score for this one
Yeah,
as well. But yeah, the actress Diana Scarwill who plays Maureen,
yeah.
brilliant. I think she absolutely nails
So
the scene as the nun.
when saving her, one of the nuns falls to her death. Her head hits the bell, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's it
it
goes
is.
pretty far
Yeah,
all down and then splat and stuff like that too. And they basically kick her out. And that's when it starts because she's in the desert. I like she's literally in the desert.
miles from anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
miles from anywhere.
yeah. So she obviously leaves. I think she leaves on her own accord, or like
Yeah,
you
which
say,
is
they
crazy to think.
maybe
Yeah, because
been
it was
slightly
accidental.
pushed. But then we see Dwayne, then we Duke, and
Yeah,
he's this kind of really
shady dude in
sleazy
his car
kind
because
of.
he picks her up. Yeah, he's a
Yeah, he's
guitar
kind of a
player.
musician. Yeah, a
Yeah,
musician.
magician.
Um,
Musician.
and didn't he? I don't want to go off on a tangent. Didn't he play Elvis in one role? I think he played Elvis
He
Presley
might
in one of
have.
his
Very
films.
good looking dude. Very good looking
But
dude. Very good actor. He's also producer.
oh man, he's a shining light in this film. Honestly, he
He is.
absolutely nails the sleazy character. Whereas, like in the past, Dennis Franz, plays
Yeah,
that
right. He
asshole
played
character.
that. Yeah, he's the most trippy character. Yeah, he's
He's
like
charming though as well. He can
that's
be an
that,
asshole, but he can be so
yeah,
charming with the women as well. You
right.
know,
Which is kind of funny in this film.
but an amazing opening where you've got the rainstorm.
It is
She,
pouring rain because he has this broken down Charger type car or something like that. He says, "Yeah, I bought it off this dude." He has a thing
yeah,
for his guitar, like don't touch the guitar.
right, yeah. And don't
Yeah,
he have some kind of religious thing on the dashboard?
he has Mary. He has
Yeah,
Mary
yeah,
like one of those bobble things and stuff like that because he
right.
tries to come on to her. He's like, because she's all looking at it because obviously she has issues and she's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
like,
She's very
oh,
frightened, very
oh, do you have
timid,
an
isn't
issue with
she?
this or something like that? It still stays there. Yeah. It's like it's all nice and sunny. Then, as in every psycho film, it starts like pouring down rain, like a la the first film.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, most of them, if not all of them, do
Yeah.
have like a rainstorm in
It's that
every kind
ongoing
of film.
theme for that, definitely.
Yeah. So he picks her up. But then, like, after, okay, like at first he's quite funny. Some of the, he tells jokes. He's just got this funny personality. But then he turns a little bit, doesn't he? Because she falls asleep. He pulls over, I think it is, for the night, and she falls
Right, yeah,
asleep.
because it's raining too hard because the windshield wipers again don't seem to flipping
Exactly.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. But then he kind of does a weird thing where he kind of shines a light in her eyes and to
He
wake
sees
her up.
like as she's sleeping, then he decides to be the shady creeper SOB and like goes underneath there. He has a thing for lights later on in this film, you notice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind of goes like a little bit under her dress. She kind of wakes up and stuff like that too. And he tries to kind of come on to her, and she's not having it because she sees the Mary still there, bobblehead thing
Yeah,
still
yeah.
on the dash of the car.
But then he turns into a horrible character. He basically chucks his suitcase in the mud and
Yeah, in the
just
rain
drives
when
on.
it's still
Yeah.
kind of like pouring, and then he decides to take off in the pouring rain. He's like, "F this stuff."
But even with like a scene that comes on later involving this character, I really like this character, even though he's a douchebag.
Yeah, well, I
I
do
just stuck
too.
to this
Yeah.
character. He's got that charm, but we'll come into that.
He's
So
weird. He's a weird
he is,
character, but he's almost like an artsy. He's an artsy. What do you call those characters? Kind of like a Bruce Campbell type of character, where
yeah, I know what you,
yeah, character actor. Yeah, character actor.
character, yeah,
Yeah,
he plays like a hustler in this as well. He's
he
always
does.
hustling.
He'll come on to any lady with two legs, it seems, in this too, which is
Yeah, he's
good
a
thing.
womanizer. He's a hustler. He'll
Yeah.
take money from the
We'll get
till when he has
introduced to that reporter, that beat reporter, who's like on whatever. You're not all that, bud.
Yeah. So this is a month after the second film now, yeah. So this is, in terms of context of time, this is a month later. Miss Spool is still missing, and it's headlines in the newspaper, or it's certainly, fairly big paragraph.
Yeah, it's a few months after the second one. It's based a few months after, I think, if she's still kind of missing.
I think it's 4 weeks to a month.
Yeah, because the dude that played the sheriff in part 2 was in this one as well. So it's cool that they reprised his role for that.
Yeah. So Dwayne turns up at this motel now, the Bates Motel. And he's kind of on the lookout, to basically, I don't know.
Yeah, because he says he's an artist. He's an artist.
Yeah. He wants to get some money together to go to, is it LA?
Yeah, it's LA. With this one too, when you get introduced to Mr. Bates, you see that it's like it's a bird feeder. Well, there's something in that feed that's killing off the birds. One of them, at least, anyway. You see him stuffing one. He'll take the other one out, and he'll just let it go. As he's eating like peanut butter and crackers and stuff as he's stuffing the bird.
Yeah,
I thought was interesting.
Not washing his hands. Oh man,
not washing his hands. Yeah.
But yeah, he's turned up and he offers Dwayne then kind of the assistant manager's job. Basically,
right. He works the days. That's when you mentioned that. It's like going, you work the days, and I work the nights, so it's fine. He mentions too that there's these people are coming for this football game. For the schools or the two colleges are coming there and stuff like that. Like they basically know who's going to win, but they're coming here to party and all this other stuff too. So
like the Toomey character, he just lets him carry on. But
he's skimming money too. By the way, he's skimming the money.
He's taking $5 off. Because that comes on a little bit later with.
Because I think that the nun, she gets picked up by somebody or gets dropped off there, and she sees him, and he's like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Sorry about what happened. It's all right.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it interesting.
We do meet Tracy Venable, like an LA journalist now.
That's her, yeah.
And she's doing like the writing about serial killers and why they're released early from custody.
Yeah.
So she's like basically in the diner. She goes to the diner. And she sees Norman, doesn't she? In the diner. So
she does.
Kind of goes over to him,
which is interesting because I think it's the same chef too that was in part 2. But
this is literally
the fellow waitress is somebody different. Now I forget her name. The other fellow waitress, I recognize her. She played the prostitute in Highlander that the Kurgan all did his business with, but I forget her name. She's a good actress too, and I'm like, okay. I kind of see the switch offs here with certain characters.
But she confronts Norman and says, like, basically, she knows that. He's killed before, and she wants to find out, maybe do an interview or just kind of get in his head to see what's going on.
Yeah, because he walks to these places, of course, because everyone's all nice to him. That's like going, nah, it wasn't him that did all this stuff anyway. So it's like they don't care.
But she thinks that he's killed Mrs. Spool, doesn't she? That's the main one of the main reasons she's
because she's been missing this long. Because she tells a story because she meets Duke in a bar or something like that too, or he's like there because he works the day shift and stuff like that, and sees her there, and then I think he mentions that he's working there, and then they decide to sit in one of the tables, and then she tells a story, doesn't she?
Yeah, that's like a little bit later on. But Maureen kind of enters a diner. And straight away she's got like the initials, I think it's MC on her So
they make her look like the Janet Leigh character too, which
exactly,
Marion Crane or whatever. Yeah,
which gets like Norman interested in her, and he can't keep his eyes
he's
off
like,
her.
oh no, here we go again. Yeah.
So that's when they initially get kind of introduced. But she shows up then at the Bates Motel. Dwayne kind of apologizes to her about the night before, kicking her out the car and
And
all that.
he gives her the keys to room 1.
Yeah, and that's where he takes the $5 as well. He pockets it for himself.
Yes.
He charges her like
Norman
$5
finds out about that, and he looks outside, and Anthony Perkins is priceless. His expressions are iconic. He's like, you know it. He's like, you gave her to whatever like that too? He's like, yeah, I did. Should be no problem, right?
But then we see Norman, and he's talking to his mother, and she's sat in the chair.
Yeah.
What she says? She says she'll always be with him, and she
all in the shadows too. They don't show the face, so it's all in the shadows.
Right? Yeah. And may get rid of Maureen. If he doesn't, then she's gonna do it. She calls her a disgusting whore. So straight away, kind of, because I think she's a very tragic figure, isn't she, Maureen, the nun?
She's a very tragic figure,
which is kind of like, it's really emotional part of the film, because you kind of really feel sorry for her, and you want to, steer her clear of like Norman and all the shit she went through with Dwayne as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Things just get worse for her, but I think she's got like mental health issues as well.
Oh God, yeah. These are two broken. That's what makes this film pretty damn good. Is they're both broken figures, right? They both have, they're meant to be together. It's weird.
I mean, every character in the film is kind of got their like faults, with Dwayne as well, and
going on. Yeah,
the journalist, even the woman journalist, is kind of like too far forward.
Yeah,
but like you said, Dwayne meets Tracy, then the journalist, in the bar. She's not interested at all until he says, look, I'm working in the Bates Motel, and then she gets all interested then, and she's like, well, I'll buy you a drink,
yeah, I'll buy you a drink. How about that?
So she wants to know a bit more about what's been going on in the Bates Motel and Norman and all this. Norman then spies on Maureen, doesn't he? She's about to take a bath.
The Duke character, Faye's character, mentions it's like going, yeah, she's pretty cute, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
No, he does. Right. He takes a picture down that has that picture of that naked woman on there. Right. It's like a painting, and he takes it off, and he sees her getting ready to go into the shower. Then we get, all of that scene from the first film again. Where you see the shower. You don't see her, but you see the shower. You see the killer figure walk in with the shadow, open up the curtain, and figures out, oh, she slit her wrist. And she's just laying there.
So Norman, you think, or the mother at this point, Norman,
or whoever the killer is.
The killer is, you think they've gone there to kill her. But then they get spooked because, she's basically slit her own wrists and tried to commit suicide.
In the hospital after that, Norman's right there, looking after her and stuff like that too.
And what's so weird about that scene is she actually, where she's going in and out of consciousness, she thinks she sees Mary, and with him holding
with the arms open and stuff like that. Yeah,
she thinks like it's a crucifix instead of a knife. It's really like
very Giallo-esque.
It's an amazing scene. So well written as well, with the actual, thinking that it is different things as well.
Absolutely.
But he kind of saves her then, doesn't he? Norman saves her. He takes a liking to her, and they kind of go on like this kind of romantic kind of thing.
Right. They go to she's warming up to him basically, and also while the Duke character is at the bar after the reporter leaves, he sees two women winking at him and stuff like that. And he takes the blonde with them back to where he's to his room and stuff like that too, because Norman works the night shift, and he, the most David Lynch type sex type scene in the bedroom I've ever seen.
I tripped out when I seen her back in this again because she's in Slumber Party Massacre 2 as well, which I love.
She is, yeah, full
But
frontal and all their
she's
great. She's
amazing.
very pretty. All
Yeah,
smoking a
yeah.
cigarette, all doing a tease for him and stuff like that. And he
Like
has two
redhead,
lamps.
perfect body.
He has two lamps, which looks so funny. He's obviously naked, but he has two lamps. One right here, one right here, because he's the artist, right? He's that type of person going like back and forth, and he's just like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Total trip.
Right. So
Total
they end
fever
up
dream
having
trip.
they have sex, don't they? And
right, she leans up and she hits the guitar, and he goes, "Not the guitar."
Yeah. And it's kind of implied that she wants a little bit more than sex. She wants kind of a relationship with him, but
he's like, and she mentions that too. It's like going because she's like, "Oh, you're one of those, huh? You just hit it and quit it and stuff like that too." He gets pissed off over something and like kicks her out of the room, like get a cab. Throws, which she's like naked other than her panties, then throws the stuff out, which I think is kind of funny. There happens to be that phone booth that happens to be right there. That's still there from the original films. And she makes a phone call, and then the killer comes up, opens up the thing, and boy, that's a brutal one. Boy, he stabs the killer stabs the bejesus out of him.
Right. So what you said earlier about this being trippy up until this point, and then it completely turns Friday the 13th from then on.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like all over the place, man. So it's like,
but that scene is particularly nasty because as he's killing her in the phone booth, the glass shatters on the floor, and I think she's got
right. She's all stepping all over the.
Yeah,
that's a good kill, but yeah, a bunch of stuff going on.
I love that. Yeah, and like you say, you've got not long after that, then you've got the bunch of tourists turn up who all want to watch the football game. And then you got this big fat jokey kind of fella, then he's laughing all the time.
Right, yeah, because everybody's there in like the rooms. This real pretty girl that just happens to be there where she goes into the office and I think sees Norman there and stuff like that. She's like, "Oh, hi," or something like that too.
Yeah, she's the only sober one of the lot.
Yeah, she's the only sober one. It's like whatever, like that, really cute. And yeah, there's just the stuff going on. All in all, he goes on a date with with her.
He does,
because the haircut, everything reminds him of Lee's character as Marion. Just looks, it's implied like that. They go to dinner. They're all drinking wine, having a good time, and then there's this dance scene where he's telling her what to move. It's like move this, move that. It gets quieter and quieter, and then they start to hold each other and stuff like that. I'm like, dude,
it's kind of a touching scene because like she's desperately emotionally needs someone, and obviously Norman like takes a shine to her for the wrong reason, obviously with Marion Crane type thing.
Well, that's the thing too. He's trying to get a relationship with these women, but he can't because Mother's like, "You're a dirty boy," and all this other stuff too.
Yeah, she comes in the way of everything he tries to do with women. She tells him, like Mother basically tells him she's a whore and wants to come between them. And then doesn't he tells Maureen to go, doesn't she?
Right, because he's like, he says, "I'll be right back." Right?
Yeah.
Telling her to wait. I'll be like right back, right? Because a party's like going on and stuff like that too. Because they're having a great time. And then he's up there with Mother, and she's saying it's like get rid of her or something like that too. And he's trying to fight it, right? He's at the window, and it's a great scene where she's up there like against one of the posts, and she's like, "Norman, like you okay?" and stuff like that. He's like, "No, I'm not feeling well. Just
like,
go.
Go away.
Just go away." And she's hesitant about it, but she finally goes away.
Because he says lock your room, doesn't he? He says lock your door.
Yeah, lock your door. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But then we see, the girl the sober girl who turned up in the office, but I think it's Patsy Boyle is her character's name.
Yeah.
And she gets another Friday the 13th star kill.
Actually, if we go kind of farther back with that.
Yeah, go on.
Because that one girl, the blonde, ends up missing, right? So the sheriff goes down to figure out what's going on, I think. Because it's like Fahey's character and then the reporter, they're all sitting on the car, like totally oblivious to each other of like what's going on. And he's all smirking about it because he's like going, whatever. And that just goes just kind of goes away and stuff like that. Sorry, Darren, go ahead.
No, so this one girl, Patsy, she gets her throat slashed.
Right, she's on the toilet.
Yeah. It's
which is like, and that's a brutal one too. It's like she's like, it's like, you know, because they're all doing their business, all
well, she
drinking,
says
having a good time.
something like, because we know it's a female, because she mentions it's a female who walks in the room, and then she's like, oh, you know,
She's like, oh,
something
hi, and something like
yeah,
that too. It's like whatever, like that, and just goes like that,
yeah,
and then you see the butcher knife stab the toilet paper thing,
yeah,
thing his arm.
man. And then like Norman basically buries her in an ice chest outside
Right,
the
buries her in
motel.
the ice chest because there's somebody else in the ice chest.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is crazy, man.
or because he has to break the arm to put it in
Yeah.
there. You know, like you say, and then that's when the sheriff comes back. Well, no, go ahead and just take it from there, Darren. You'd
Yeah,
explain
that's
it better.
so Sheriff Hunt and the deputy Leo, then they turn
Deputy
up
is
then.
funny. The deputy is funny.
They are, yeah.
Like the deputy's hilarious. Like just like a typical like late 80s type of character.
So they've turned up now to investigate, you know, the missing girls. So Tracy tells Maureen as well. So the journalist actually tells Maureen about Norman's past, like everything, and that's where Maureen's like, "Oh man, like I don't really want anything to do with him." But with the sheriff, like you say, it's a funny scene when he gets the ice from the ice
Right.
box and he
Yeah, it's
starts
all
putting it
wet
in his
and shit
mouth.
like that. And he all licks his fingers and
I
shit.
mean, like everyone's on, like watching it, you're on the edge
Yeah,
of your
everyone's
seat. You're
watching
thinking, is
it
he
like you
gonna
don't
realize?
see it. It's like you
Yeah.
don't see it. Yeah, I think that.
It's
And Norman's
brilliant.
just sitting there like, am I going to get caught? I mean, seriously, guys, is it going to happen? It's like, I'm begging you. I'm begging you here. Give me something.
It's definitely Hitchcock type suspense because
Like I
even
say,
though
that's
it's
why this is a
done,
trip. Yeah.
it's done quite kind of funnily, like in a funny way with the ice, but
Doesn't
yeah.
he
So
kiss doesn't he kiss her before he puts her in the ice chest? There's a scene in the rain, right?
yeah.
And he kisses her. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It is.
And then
Yeah,
just the funny scene.
crazy.
Actually, it's just her in there actually, but it's the scene with the hand because it's all like rigor mortis. So he's like, oh, we're gonna snap.
Yeah. So you got Maureen. She then gets spooked then by what she's been told. The nun gets spooked type thing. She goes to stay with Father Brian, who helped her early on in the film.
Right, that's right. Like, funny, something's going on, and Father Brian kind of
Yeah,
calms
she
her down a little
basically
bit.
knows the Norman's like used to be or is a
Yeah,
killer. Because of the part 2, obviously.
yeah.
So yeah, you got all that going on. Norman sees like Miss Spool's body is gone, and he reads this note, and it says, "I'm in cabin 12. Come and see me. Signed, Mother." And then it takes a like weird turn then because he goes to cabin 12, and it's Dwayne's actually in the cabin.
Right, it's a trippy scene because he has.
Yeah.
What does he has? He has something.
He has Mother.
Oh, that's
He
right. He has
literally
Mother.
has.
Right, he even kisses her. Right, he's on the chair and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, mwah." I was like, okay.
And he decides then to blackmail, to blackmail him.
It's like, "Oh, you can sell the property. This property is worth like whatever,
Yeah.
man. Just sell it." Like he goes fully on, literally psycho, literally.
Yeah. Because he
Okay.
says something along the lines of, I could dob you in and I could be like a hero in the press tomorrow, he said, but I won't get no money for that.
Yeah,
So,
I would, I'm like going, dude,
it's more
what is up
important.
with
Yeah.
this? That's so shallow. That is so shallow.
Yeah. So yeah, he tries to blackmail him, or he says, literally, give me money or I'm gonna go to the police. But then Norman out of nowhere grabs his fucking ashtray and just chucks it at him.
Yeah, chucks
I'm
it
like,
at him. It's a good
out of
fight.
nowhere.
He hits him and stuff like that, and then he goes lay off after he smacks him with the guitar. He picks up the guitar, which is a great
Yeah.
Norman Bates type of scene. He goes, dance off the guitar, bing.
Yeah. And what's so
Puts-
crazy about that scene as well is the fucking cartoons are playing in the background.
Oh, right. What was the cartoon? Yeah, the Woody Woodpecker or something.
Yeah, Roadrunner or something like that.
Yeah, Roadrunner and something like that, which is indicative of the film itself. What's going on here?
Yeah, because in that scene, it actually plays well with that scene.
Yeah, with the mallet hitting the character. Yeah, with the
it
guitar.
is crazy,
Ding.
man. Yeah, so obviously he's basically killed. Or we think he's killed Dwayne.
That scene, he takes him, he puts him in the car, He puts him in the back
Yeah.
seat of his car, or he's driving it to the swamp where
Right.
all the other people have been taken out to. He's thinking stuff. He's thinking all this other stuff's going on. All this crazy shit's going on in his head. He's still in the car. And
Yeah.
actually, the dude comes back to life and starts doing something because I
He
think he may
tries to
be in the seat next to
strangle.
him.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
tries to
Oh, that's
strangle him,
right.
doesn't he, when he's driving?
He goes over the seat next to where the throttle is at. So he keeps on pressing on him, right? He
Yeah,
keeps on like
yeah.
hitting his foot there while his hands is still on the throttle and falls right into the swamp, right into the water. Great scene.
Exactly, yeah. And then you got the suspense then because we don't know whether Norman's going to get out in time. But he manages to get out.
He
And
does.
then obviously Dwayne drowns in the car, which is
Yes, but that's not
great
only
scene.
him that drowns in the car. You see the girl, you see the blonde, where it freaks him out. You see a bicycle in there. You notice that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's-
he sees that, but then he sees her, and then he's like, "Oh no," and all this stuff,
Right.
and ends up getting out of there and just walks back.
Yeah, just casually, as if another day, at the office or whatever.
Right.
But
And that's basically it, because everybody is driven off, right? Or everyone starts to drive off. So
yeah.
it's just him, and she comes back because she gets a change of heart, right? Because she's fallen in love with him. It's
she
like
kind of thinks, when she committed or went to commit suicide, that it was a sign from God that maybe Norman is the one for her now.
one for her. Yeah.
So but all in this time as well, Tracy the journalist is doing more research.
Yes.
And she's finding out the Spool was actually in a mental hospital for murder herself, Miss Spool. So Maureen, she goes back to the house thinking Norman's her true love. Mother shouts out, and so basically she comes up the stairs, doesn't she, in the house?
Yeah,
Maureen.
the same thing.
Mother shouts out something, and then kind of she ends up getting like thrown down the stairs and impaled.
It's accidentally. She accidentally falls.
Complete
I think
accident.
Something happens where she accidentally falls, and then she hits her back of her head on, what is it, like statue with the spike at the end of it?
Statue spike thing, yeah.
And just a bunch of blood on the floor.
Yeah. It's where Mother come out the room, and I think it's just totally by accident she falls back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a nod to the first one with the
it's a huge nod.
Falling down.
Then you realize, because he's depressed and sad about it and all this other stuff too, and he's like, no. It's like, I was just kind of so close for that. That's when the reporter character is in there. That's when the shit hits the fan, basically.
Yeah. So she enters the house, doesn't she? Now
she does enter the house,
and she finds Maureen dead. And then she finds Norman dressed basically as his mother would.
As the mother. Here we go. Right. That's when she starts to tell the story about Mom again. Yeah. And I'm like, okay.
But this is a total different story to what we got in part 2.
Totally different. Yeah.
So basically, Miss Spool,
a little bit.
Miss Spool was in fact not his mother.
Yeah.
She was his mother's sister, who in turn was in love with his father. When he chose his mother over Spool, when he chose his mother over her, Spool snapped and killed him. So basically, Miss Spool
killed the dad.
Was in love with his father.
Yeah.
Which is totally different to what they're saying.
Because she says that really fast. Sometimes you have to look at the script. Yeah.
Yeah, I did write it down.
Very good.
And she kidnapped Norman when he was like 6 years of age. So 6 months old. But then she got obviously for killing his father, and she got put into like a mental home. Basically, then he destroys Spool's corpse, doesn't he? Like the corpse of his mother.
Yeah.
Which
is basically just dust. Yeah, just been dust. He's like, oh no, he finally snaps. He's like, no, I did this for no reason, type of a thing. And
yeah. Because all that new information is completely different, which I don't know. I think it works. You've got to put it into context with the film. But like, he tells the sheriff then as he's getting arrested, like he says, "Oh, finally, I'm going to be free."
Right, with the sheriff is like going, "Damn it, Norman!" It's like,
yeah. Why have you done it this time? Have you trusted you?
All this stuff. Yeah, he's in the police car and stuff like that, just going there because it's it's like, yeah, now I'm finally free. And at the end, that's when you see the hand that
Oh
happens to
yeah,
come out
man.
of nowhere, come out of like his sleeve, and he's like, oh.
That is fucking killer, that ending. 'Cause he's got Mrs. Spool's hand, and then this is another nod to The Omen where he smiles at the fucking camera again in like
That
The
smile at
Omen.
the camera, then it fades out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I really enjoyed
And the
part
theme,
3.
the song, or the score playing during the credits.
Again, another like beautiful score for this one as well.
Yeah.
This was a high 7 out of 10 for me.
You and I think alike, Darren. This is a 7 out of
Yeah.
10 for me too, personal one. I think I gave it 3 out of I may have given it 3.5 out of 5 stars on a letterbox and a heart.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That makes sense. But I think it's highly rewatchable as well.
I do too. Like I
And
said, I'm a big David Lynch fan of his films. This plays like a fever dream, like a la David Lynch, and then you just put all kinds of stuff in here. You put the giallo element, you put the slasher element in here, because
yeah.
technically those scenes were not necessary for this film.
No, it's completely different film, like up until the halfway point. Like
there
you
is
say,
another cut of this film too that, of course, that scene with the slash of the throat was taken out initially with the production, but they added that in there, I believe.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's a good one. Like I say, this is highly rewatchable, and this is Anthony Perkins' this is his directorial debut. I don't think he did anything else after this, but
right, which is, I know he didn't have long basically to live after the fourth one.
There's a good visual essay on here by there's audio commentary by film critic Michael Brook, Johnny Maines. There's, of course, by screenwriter. There's a commentary by Edward Pogue, who very good screenwriter here for this. Yeah, Alexandra Heller Nichols, who's done some giallo essays.
Australian.
Yeah, she does it. She does one for this one, which is really good. I'd highly check that out. It's really good.
I need to listen to that.
She acquaints it to Carnival Fantastico type of stuff that was made back in like the 1800s and stuff like that too, where it's a very carnival aspect to the whole thing, where it can be very dark. Yeah. And
I have got one of her books, man. She's done a book on giallo. Dirk's in the house.
Yes, he is. I'm going to say what's going on. Keith is out for the night. Thank you, Keith, for joining. Really appreciate that. Yeah, you have a good night, my friend, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, I think he's long gone.
Yeah, Exorcist 2, Locust Man. Yeah, James Earl Jones.
I love Exorcist 2 for all the wrong reasons, though.
Yeah, Jeff Fahey was in Planet Terror and Body Parts. I've seen some of Planet Terror.
Body Parts, yeah. 1991, I think that was.
Yeah, the nun character actress was in Pumpkinhead and Ghoulies too. Okay.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
I'd agree with that. Wild 2 and 3, great watch back to back. Yeah, totally different films though. I really like it a lot. Mikey's Morgan here. What's going on, Mikey? Fellow metalhead. Thanks for joining and saying hi. Cheers to you, bud. And then of course we got Dirk. Yeah.
Hey, Dirk.
The work, that SOB. It's all good, Dirk. It's all good. Just talking great stuff. But yeah, like I said, this is another great release, great set. Definitely. I mean, this is a guilty pleasure of this franchise. I don't know. Like I said,
I think so.
It's like David Lynch wise. It's Argento-esque, They mentioned giallo in this with the essays and stuff like that too, but very, very type of different fever dream type of a slasher-esque type of a film. So like I say, not at a high body count again. Doesn't matter. If you can pique my interest, great first watch for me. So I'm very happy of
I keep forgetting that was your first time. Like I say, it sets up, going in order. It sets up, to basically go into part 4 perfectly, I think.
It does, and then
this is probably my guilty pleasure, though. I think out of all of them,
I have to admit. So this was originally just meant for television. Unfortunately, it is directed by Mick Garris, who did Critters. I think he's a good horror director.
Sequels, I think.
Yeah,
he did do Chocolate, the Masters of Horror episode.
Yes, he did.
Which had Henry Thomas in it as well.
So he's a good horror director. It's just like, I know slashers aren't his cup of tea. He stated that he could do without the slasher as a
Didn't he do the
five.
Shining TV series?
He did.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah,
He
so
did.
playing Mick Garris for that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dana, if she's watching.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
yeah,
this was originally a TV film. This 4K does have the uncut version of the film, but that's a Psycho 4: The Beginning, starring directed by Mick Garris, 1990. Yeah, 1990.
yeah.
One of the last vestiges of the horror TV films. And writers Joseph Stefano, stars Anthony Perkins, C.C.H. Ponder, Henry Thomas, and Olivia Hussey. My goodness, as
And
Norma
those two,
Bates.
yeah, those two do an amazing job in this. Henry Thomas and Olivia Hussey.
Horror
I think they are
icons in the
fantastic.
same film. The final girl, the original one of the OG final girls from Black Christmas, and of
Yeah.
course we have Norman Bates in here, and also the dude Henry Thomas from E.T. fame playing
From
a
ET,
young
yeah.
Norman Bates. Yeah, so
You've
go
also
ahead,
got
Darren.
John Landis plays a role in this.
That's
as well.
right, John Landis. Yep, John Landis, definitely.
He plays like one of the in the radio station. He's one of the bosses.
Yeah, one of the bosses. Yeah, in the back. That's CCHL Ponder, who's done other stuff. I remember her from TV, but she's done some other films as well. But this is, I think,
was in Orphan, I think.
Yeah,
from 2009, and
2009.
Sliver from 1993. But everyone in this, like, considering this is a TV film,
oh yeah,
this is like looks kind of a decent kind of budget. Not as
no,
much
it
as the
honestly
others.
kind of was. Like I say, it's
Yeah,
USA
yeah.
Network. It's a USA Network film. So
Right.
it's done at Universal. So,
And I mean, I think every kind of character in every actor in this film does a bang up job. Even the boyfriend, like,
no, he
plays this,
does.
like,
Yeah, the shady
sleazy,
boyfriend.
yeah. So what's interesting about this one is it opens up with the original Bernard Herrmann score. So this goes straight back to the original, in terms of music. So you've got this radio show's going on. You've got the host, Fran Ambrose. She's interviewing this Raymond Lynette, all about matricide.
Yeah.
So basically, what that means is a boy who's killed his mother is called matricide.
Yeah, the grandfather is with him.
Yeah. And he actually strangely sticks up for this, this character as well.
I recognize him as an actor. He's done other stuff before too, but I forget the name.
But I don't know if you recognize, do you know the actor who plays Raymond Lynette, which I've got here, is a guy called Kurt Paul?
Yes.
And if you look closely,
I recognized him. Yeah.
He plays all the doubles for Anthony Perkins.
Oh, that's right.
In different films.
He has the height.
He looks like him as well. I know they've changed him up a little bit for this one, but if you look closely,
body double. Yeah.
If you see him in an interview, he looks like he could be his brother. He looks very similar.
IMDb has that video for this where they talk to him and stuff like that. Young kid.
Yeah. But yeah, so you've got this host. She's talking to this guy. He's killed his mother. This Dr. Richmond's in there as well. Trying to give advice and all this. But then we get a phone call or someone phones in called Ed.
Yes.
Basically, it's Norman Bates. I know we know
because she gets done with the interview with them, and then asks the good doctor, "Do you want to stay on?" He's like, yeah, because he's the skeptic here of like, why let these people out, and all this other stuff. So you have this skeptic person where he plays a pretty good asshole in this. Like you say, that's when you get the call when it's Perkins' character. He looks good in this too. Man, it sucks that he passed a little bit after this, but man.
Yeah, it's amazing how they did this, right? So basically they did this film in a series of like flashbacks.
Yes.
And the attention to detail in the 1950s and like 40s when he's even younger, is amazing. It's done really well considering it's a no budget kind of TV film.
You see the house painted. It was painted white, right? So
right. Yeah.
There is scenes like real quick where the mom, where Hussey's character comes back when he's like all beating down the clothes and stuff like that and starts hitting him with the newspaper. And she shows him that they're putting freeways in here and stuff like that. And then goes, there it goes. We're going to lose business.
Yeah.
Veer off from here and all
beats
this
up
other
on
stuff
him,
too.
basically.
Yeah, she makes that comment.
So the first murder we see, right, is a flashback to the 1950s. So basically,
He says, I've killed before. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where it tells you, like in the other story,
It connects to
film,
the first film,
it
really.
connects.
Yeah.
And this young girl and blonde, and she's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, Daisy. Well, not say Daisy Dukes, but a longer version of those during the '60s, I guess.
Oh, she's stunning, man. She takes a liking to Norman, and she's very forward though. And Norman's kind of like, you can tell he's kind of a virgin.
She has like a lollipop or something like that in her hand. She
Yeah,
likes
yeah.
him. She wants him.
She kind of eats his candy bar, and she's very mischievous, and she sneaks into the house, because he doesn't want her in the house to wake up his mother. But she's very forward. We see her topless as well. And I mean, she's a stunning actress.
Yeah.
But then mother tells him to go kill the whore.
Right, because he doesn't want to go up to the house.
Right.
Like,
at first,
she's like, I have a parlor. I have a parlor here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's the one I think that goes in there before him.
She goes and sneaks into the house
because she's looking in the room and stuff like that. He catches her. He's like going,
yeah,
okay, go this way here.
Yeah. So mother tells him to kill the whore, or basically she'll do it for him. But
she's in the bed.
Yeah.
She's in the bed. That's right.
The vibe I got from that scene is don't go in the house. Exactly fucking the same vibe. Almost like you could put that scene in Don't Go in the House, man. It's just got that type of feel to it. But then Norman's dressed as his mother, and he like repeatedly stabs this young girl to death. And then we find out the mother is mummified. And he says something like,
well, she goes, does she go outside, or is she killed there? I forget now when I think about it.
She's killed in the
that's right. She is killed there, the way she's killed and stuff like that. Yeah, that's right. She's killed in the bed. That's right.
And then like he shouts out, blood, mother, blood.
Blood, the blood mother. Yeah, the blood.
The one thing I will say about this film, and I don't know what you think on it, is could you believe that Norman was fucking married to a psychiatrist? That's the only little thing I find a little bit far-fetched.
I thought that was kind of tropey type of situation, because you don't know that. You don't even know that, because he mentions later that he moved into the house with her that was her ex-husband's, and they don't go any farther into that.
Yeah. So her name's Connie. She's pregnant.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want it, and he's worried the child's going to turn
end up like him and stuff like that. Because he mentions in this film too a seed had been growing, and stuff like that too. And I don't want that seed to be,
Well, that's right, because it's all on his family side, isn't it? Miss Spool or his mother or whatever. They've all been in mental institutions and all that. So we get a flashback then. So Norman's father died when he was 6, and he was apparently stung to death by bees.
Stung to death by bees, and it shows that's a good fun because it shows him all grown up there, right next to the coffin. Yeah. He mentions that he got stung to death by bees. Very horrible way to go. It's like they couldn't even give him an open casket because it was so bad. So they have like a towel over his head in the casket.
Right, and it's done so well because we see young Norman, but like you say, then. Like Norman now, present time, is standing behind the coffin. It's done really well.
He's right next to him. He explains, Norman right next to him, of course, like that, tickling him a bit. He says I was very ticklish and stuff like that.
Right.
People thought maybe I was whatever like that. And she goes, bad, naughty boy.
And you can tell from this moment onwards how schizophrenic his mother was. She's she's really
batshit crazy.
As hell,
Yeah.
And it jumps then to when Norman is like 15, and he's playing around with his mother type thing, and he gets sexually
having like
aroused.
A picnic. It starts to rain. Yeah.
He gets sexually aroused. It's just kind of strange, but
it happens again too, and they go back to the house. It happens.
Yeah. She finds his porn stash, doesn't she? His magazine is like Is it like a porno magazine
There's
for the time?
there's one scene where he gets aroused and she's all like, because you figure out she's trying to make him a girl, not
Yeah, yeah.
like it goes, that's bad, you know.
She
Like,
fucking sends him out to the trash to take it out to the trash in just his underpants.
right.
Like
And then
it's
she goes, I only
pouring
do
down
this
with
because I
rain.
love you, right? Because so she gives him like
Yeah, yeah.
a robe or something like
And
that.
I mean, you can see, like, obviously this is cycle 4, the beginning, but you can see the seeds of where and how he turned out to be,
Yeah,
all basically through his relationship with his mother.
exactly.
But I love the flashbacks, the way they're done in this.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Norman kind of peeks into the cabin, and he sees her like going fucking mad. She's losing her mind. She's chucking.
Right. The
And
peephole,
yeah,
which
yeah,
seems to be there in the main office, seems to be
right.
there. And this is done back in, excuse me, I say the 60s. That's wrong. It's like the 40s.
Yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah.
it's like all nice and stuff like that too. Way before the taxidermy, all that stuff happens. And that's when she sees, my goodness, good old Olivia Hussey, man, just full frontal there, just holding her arms out to this dude later on. But to your point, yeah, she's just like
Yeah,
going
yeah,
crazy.
she's
He mentions
just
she'd have
going
psychotic
nuts.
episodes and stuff like that. He does mention that.
It's crazy, yeah, because like you say, another flashback you get, the next flashback. So it's during their kind of last summer together. Norman kind of massages her. She gets him to like massage oil into her or whatever. Is
That's
this
right. Yeah, put some because it's like he says it's like
sunblock?
the
Is it?
hottest. He said it was the hottest summer on record.
That's when
During
he
that
gets
time.
the erection as well again. So he gets an erection again. Um, she dresses up. She dresses him up like a girl. She puts all lipstick over his
Right,
mouth.
because he's like, you're going to act like whatever like that. So if you're going to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this, I'm going to dress you up like that. There's scenes like that. Yeah.
And she like fucking locks him in this darkened room, like where
Because he was so
like,
naughty and stuff like that. Says she gives her because this is when you get introduced to the tea because she likes honey in her tea. So he
yeah,
makes
yeah,
the tea and he puts no vanilla. He puts vanilla in the tea.
vanilla in the glass. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
that's when
yeah,
something happens because she has ice on it and stuff like that too. It's because she's sheltered him for so long. You know, it's like
yeah,
this thing where it's only her. There's nobody else. And that's when, yeah, he gets aroused because something happens. And then she gives her like the empty pitcher and stuff like that. Says, only thing those things are good for is like going wee wee or something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gives it to him and like
Right.
locks him in the
Yeah,
closet. And he goes down right because there's that crack in the closet and goes, Mother, please, please, and all this stuff. I'm like, damn, this is before they know at the radio station who he is. They don't know.
right. So they're about to find out because as all these flashbacks are coming in, this is the way of Norman is like relaying his story on the radio, basically.
Yep.
But we're actually seeing it in visual form through flashbacks. The doctor then kind of realizes the red is actually Norman Bates. He kind
This sounds very familiar because he's
yeah,
asking for information.
all the stuff that he's been saying matches up with
Yeah.
Norman. And then we see John Landis, as he plays like a cameo role as like.
I keep on forgetting that's him because I always imagine him with long hair and stuff, but that is John Landis. I just with the glasses. I should have seen it before. I'm like, oh, and he looks familiar.
And
So,
there is a scene a bit later on that I'm going to mention that kind of reminds me of American Werewolf in London, but I'll come on to that when we say it.
yeah.
So yeah, Norman kind of beats up on him. Then she, when she realizes like their business is going to suffer because, like you said earlier, something to do with the highway.
Yeah, new highways being putting in. So it's
Yeah.
it's like it's a typical opening the doors to the country. These freeways and stuff like that. New highways going to veer people away from here. I think she mentions it's like, what are we going to live off of? Hope. I think when he hits them,
Right,
with the paper and all this other stuff too, because he mentions that summer when that happened was the last time it was just him and his mother until the boyfriend enters the picture.
This is where it's coming in now. So we got another flashback now where Norma comes back home with this man, Chet, I think his name is.
Yeah. He's the one that he sees in the peephole in room one.
Yeah.
In room one. Yeah.
He spies on him, and that's where we see the lovely Olivia Hussey topless.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how many times was that video recorder like paused.
God bless her. God bless her. God bless her.
She was
did it. Yeah.
very well endowed lady.
Beautiful lady. Yeah.
So yeah, she tells Norman then that her and Chet are going to get married. And they're basically, Chet's going to start running the hotel. So
Right, because
Norman's thinking, he's not going to be needed no more because he's usually the man of the
because
house.
he wasn't good enough. He mentions he wasn't good enough for her. There's a scene, when they're doing the do and all this other stuff too, like, because that's when he introduces himself. He's all in her, because he mentions that's my father's robe. He mentions
So
that, and he
this
goes,
guy,
yeah.
Chet, he comes down, doesn't he, from being asleep, and he's got his father's robe on. He's kind of this fucking asshole character.
He's trying to be the dad, though. He's kind of respectful towards Norman. You know what I mean? He's not being like the total dick. You know what I mean? Where he's like, "I'll just gonna beat his ass." But yeah,
I don't know because you got the fucking boxing scene, haven't you?
yeah. Well, he's wanting him to kind of make try
be
to
a
be
bit
a
more
man and all that
manly.
stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, on him. Then he just hits him and he goes like, "There's hope for him yet." They're all kind of laughing, but it's kind of
got
funny.
like a bloody nose as well, and his mother's laughing and Chet's laughing at him.
It is that scene too where he tells him too, which is kind of funny and makes him a great actor too. He goes, "Well, you see, Norman, it's like when people have sex like me and your mom, after that, I got to be respectful. I can't just come in here naked and stuff like that too. I got to be respectful and wear the robe and all this other stuff too." And
yeah, he's slimy though with it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a slimy little asshole. Yes, he is.
And I mean, I don't know what I'd be like. I never had a stepfather or anything, but I mean, that would have just, I don't know how I would have taken to him, but
right.
yeah. So he recalls now on the radio as well that he actually killed an older woman when he was younger as well.
Yes, and we go to that. Yeah,
in a flashback scene. And again, it's in the car, and they're kind of making out. Norman's like 15, 16 maybe.
Yeah.
Very young,
Right, because she says it's like they're literally French kissing and stuff like that, and she's all like, "Whoa, man, it's like you got a tongue on you and stuff like that."
Yeah, like an elephant or something. She says, yeah. Doesn't he? So basically, does he strangle her from the back seat? Doesn't he?
He does. He says he'll be right back.
As his mother.
I think he asks her to drive somewhere. I thought. But I think she's divvying herself up. He dresses up in whatever like that. He dresses up in the clothes. He has the wig on. He goes back from behind her. Yeah, chokes her out. Takes her to the swamp.
Right.
And figures out she's not dead. So
he goes up on at the last minute that she's not dead. Basically,
that's a good scene with the typical red tail lights. That's done really well. They did that in X too. That's a great scene with that. I love the lighting.
It's kind of chilling because as he puts the car in the swamp, you can hear her fucking scream.
Yeah, you see the
yeah, it goes like that, but you can hear her screaming from the fucking boot as well, which is like
that's pretty good.
As hell.
Yeah, that's definitely pretty good.
So all this is being conveyed on the radio now. So the radio host now, they try to keep Norman on the line because he talks about he's going to kill again.
Right, I think I'm going to kill again. Yeah, the way he
kind of put two and two together. Like, is he going to kill his wife?
Because it's his birthday. Yeah, he mentions it's his birthday. It's like, it's my birthday. She talks to him on the phone saying the cake or something like that, and could you pick it up and something like that too? Says I can always make it here. I can make it here and stuff like that too. It's like going. I guess she decides to later probably do it. It's like I'll pick up the cake. No problem, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's so Norman, like during this time as well, he takes his mother out of the coffin. We see him take his mother out of the coffin, and he uses like taxidermy to sew her up.
Yes,
like, oh man, again,
Now we figured that out. Of how that worked. So that was a good revelation for that.
Yeah. But he says he's going, like Norman says, he's going to kill his wife because she got pregnant, and he's going to kill her with his own hands.
Yeah, because I can't allow, because, and he mentions that too. Like, I told her I didn't want, to continue this bloodline. I told her that. Yeah. She said she was good, that she was on the pill or something like that too. She lied to me, and she's like, don't worry. Kent kind of says that. It's like, I like going, we'll love the child, and stuff like that. It won't be like it was, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like being
Yeah.
the psychiatrist trying to help him, right? Of course, trying to help him.
But I don't know about you, but this next scene, like, so we get a flashback now of the next scene where Norman decides to poison Chet
Right,
and
because
his
they just
mother.
kind of had sex and stuff like that too,
Yeah, yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that, or something's going to happen, and it's like I have to do it. Like I say, up to that scene where he's all boxing with them and stuff like that too, and
yeah. It
knocks
kind
him
of
kind of
tipped
out and
him
stuff
over
like
the edge.
that, and
Yeah.
he's like going, I'll make a man out of him yet, and stuff like that too. Kind of smirks and stuff like that. We said it was a good start, basically. He's like, okay,
Right.
good.
And I mean, this scene is supposed to not be funny, but I couldn't help but laugh. But
Oh yeah,
anyway, he brings these drinks in like he usually does for his mother. Chet starts drinking the one, and he like almost in one go.
yeah.
And then we're left on edge, like, because his mother starts putting it over her body rather than
Because
drink
he's
it.
watching. Norman's watching in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
corner, and he's
And
waiting and
Norman's like
waiting,
thinking,
and then
shit,
she
just drink
finally
it.
does it. Finally does
Yeah.
it. That's when the shady boyfriend comes out and stuff like that, and he's hemorrhaging, like frothing at the
Man,
mouth. He's like, oh,
I shouldn't laugh, but I find that scene funny, man, because he's such an asshole character.
yeah.
When he comes out, he goes, "You fucking poisoned me," or something like the words to
It's
that
like he
effect.
poisons me. That's
He's
when she
poisoned
sees
us. He's
him.
poisoned
That's
us.
when she
Yeah,
sees him, and she chases after him, and then all of a sudden it hits her. Yeah.
right. Because she didn't down the drink in one; she sort of only drank a bit of it,
Yeah, it's a
so it's kind
slow,
of
brutal
lasts
death.
longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Chet like comes out and he's got all this like fucking gunk coming from his mouth, and
Right.
like when you say he's
She
hemorrhaging.
starts to get it. She grabs him and they fall down the stairs, I think, or
Yeah, yeah.
something happens. And
She calls him like a dirty little bastard, doesn't she,
yeah,
for
dirty
like
little
poisoning him?
bastard. Yeah.
Chet comes back then, like kind of gets like second wind, and he comes back and tries to attack
Yeah.
Norman.
Like more than once, like twice.
Twice, yeah, yeah.
He falls down the stairs. That's when it like starts to happen because he goes after him first, I think. And
And I
he falls
mean,
down the
yeah,
stairs. Yeah.
I laugh at that scene with Chet.
And that's
I
why I
don't
mean
know why.
they go down to this, to the point again to Darren, ends up down in the cellar, the food cellar,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they're both into and stuff like that. That's when he comes back to life again, and he ends up like because he puts her on the rocking chair and then he just watches her, right? Just
right.
watches her, and she's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like going, come on, and it's like, yeah,
So you've obviously got kind of his wife comes back. She knows then that Norman wants to basically kill her and get rid of the baby. And they have kind of this cat and mouse little thing around the house, don't they? Where she's kind of not running from him, but she's kind of, trying to get away from him.
yes.
And then, like you say, she tells him, "You're not a killer, he loves, you'll love her and the
Like basically
baby." And
said what basically in the end kind of happened. He took her up and divvied mom up and stuff like that too.
yeah, yeah,
Then, yeah, just harkens back where she's just like begging him, "Don't do it," and he goes like, "The mind is made up."
right.
He calls her and says, "I want you to meet me at the house, like not
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
I want you to
yeah,
meet me at the Bates Hotel."
right. So they end up like in a bit of a cat and mouse. But he ends up she talks him out of it, and he drops the knife. And then he just sets fire to the house.
What
Norman
basically
at
what
the
it
end.
is and stuff like that because it's he brings her up to the mother's room and he says, "Stay here." It's like, "Stay here." Like, "Do you
That's right.
trust
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
You have to trust me, right?" Good scene, right? And he
yeah,
goes back. That's when he goes into the original spot. He goes into like the bed, the chest right next to the bed. That's where all the stuff is at. He brings
yeah,
out
yeah,
the knife and stuff like that. And she's begging him not to do it. Something happens where he looks. It's a good scene where he looks at himself in the mirror and he just
right.
drops the
Yeah,
knife and he goes, "It's time to end this for good." I'm
yeah,
like going,
yeah.
"Oh, so everything has become full circle." So yeah,
Right.
becomes full
Exactly. Yeah,
circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what I mentioned now is about the scene I was going to mention with the American Werewolf in London. So he sets fire to the house. But what I love about that scene is So he gets hallucinations now of all these fucking dead bodies
All the
he's
people
killed,
that he's killed. Yeah.
which is like David in American Werewolf in London with
Yeah.
Griffin Dunn's character and
Yep.
all the, all the characters coming back.
Like in past tense when he was younger,
Yeah,
right? You got to remember this
which
is
is
full
like
older Norman Bates, right? And he says,
exactly.
I have to burn this place down. It has to be gone forever."
So you see the young blondie killed. You see obviously the mother and
Yeah, the
Chet
last
and
one,
other
the
different
dad.
characters. Yeah, man. It's done so well, so well. And then his mother's corpse kind of goes up in flames as
He goes
well.
up,
And
yeah, through the cellar with that other door with the the
yeah,
farm
yeah,
doors that open up. You
yeah,
see
yeah.
that, you see her in the rocking chair, like rocking back and forth, and then it just catches a blaze and it like disappears. I'm like going, oh, okay, yeah,
That ending is chilling as well because, like you say, you see the rocking chair go back and forth. You hear his mother screams. You know, is it "Let me out, let me out"? You can
yeah.
hear her mother
Let
scream.
me out of here, Norman.
And
Let me
then you hear this fucking baby cry, and then the original fucking theme tune, and then it
right.
finishes.
It's because you hear the I think you see it there with the chair rocking still
Yeah, yeah, you see the chair.
in the
It,
thing, like, yeah, because he says that afterwards. They all hug and he goes, "I'm free," and
I'm free.
that's when
Yeah,
you kind of hear in
yeah,
the Rebel, it's like, Norman, let me out, Norman. It's like,
yeah,
let me
yeah.
out, let me out. Yeah, and that's when you hear the baby crying, and then yeah, you get the credits. Yeah.
This is so much better than it should have been, really. Because for a
No, I
Part
agree.
4 TV film, I didn't like when I first watched it. I didn't have high hopes at all. I fucking love this film. I love Part 4. It's we'll do a little ranking if you want of the four, what we think. But
Yeah.
I actually love this film.
Yeah.
In terms of a rating, I think I'd give it a 7 or an 8. I'm not sure.
Wow. That's pretty
Yeah,
good, Darren.
I really liked it a lot.
I'll give it. I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a strong 6 out of 10. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Letterbox and the Heart. Because
Oh, that surprises
I can
me. You went
appreciate it.
quite low with that.
Yeah, it's probably for what Mick Garris said and stuff like that too. But he is a good horror director. You put him in right stuff. This was the right thing to do to kind of bring it back to basics for the franchise. Probably on a second watch or whatever like that. Like I said, this is the first time I watched it in years. It'll probably
Right.
get back up to. I ranked it as high as I did, to tell you the truth, because I like films, like I say, that circle back to the beginning. I like that when anything, Final Destination franchise, that went full circle. Even Saw franchise towards like the last one they did went full circle for the most part. And I like it when they bring the story back to the beginning and they basically, and this was a Perkins' swan song as the character. So it was a good
Yeah.
fitting. You didn't know it at the time, but it was pretty fitting way for him to go out as this character, definitely. So
I mean, the writing in the 3 sequels is so high quality.
this
I
is a
mean, it
great
kind of makes
underrated
sense.
franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And what a like way to end it as well, like you say, going full circle and it's just done so well. I just think the story in this one is as good as all the others as well.
Yeah,
In
definitely.
terms of ranking, I would say I would go ranking wise. Part 2 would be my top, then the original, then 4, then 3. But I
Okay.
mean, I love them all. I love them all.
Mine would be the last two would be reversed. So 2, 1, 2 is 1.
Yeah,
Of course, the OG is a classic. It kind of sits on, like Friday the 13th does. It sits on its own in the franchise
it's the
separately.
best. The original is the best film in the franchise. But
Yeah.
like you say, I've
Yeah,
gone
it
for
kind of
my
sets on
favorite.
its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the original definitely would be 2. And then 3, God. Yeah, 3, I like 3 a lot. I did not think I'd like
Yeah.
3 as much as I did. So 3 is third, and then of course 4 is fourth and stuff
4,
like
yeah.
that. But like you say, all great films. This was a great release. You can still get the Blu-ray release from Universal. I have that set too. That's a good one. That's a good one too. If you want to
Right.
get bang for
Yeah.
your buck. They do have the story so far, I think, where it comes with the 3 films and stuff like that too. But it's a great release. Comes with a booklet, which I just started reading a little bit. Talks about Ed Gein a little bit, so they did get a good history on that character. But
I've got to go through all the extras on that. I've got to watch all the interviews.
oh
And,
yeah, this is
and
the
all that.
first time really I've gone through extras on all 4 of these discs. Usually,
Right. Yeah.
I really like the film. I want to know more about it, but it's very, very good. It's very good. Like I say, this franchise here, it doesn't get enough love in my opinion. So I'm very happy that Arrow did this release and stuff like that, and it's finally getting the love. The series that Vera Farmiga was in, some other good people that was in, the Bates Motel, it brought back this franchise to recognition. But of course, it's Alfred Hitchcock, it's Robert Bloch, and you got to thank them, or else we wouldn't have these awesome films that we have today.
I've not gone to the TV series just for the simple fact that it's not Anthony Perkins. And I know Henry Thomas played him in the last one. Well, half and half.
Yeah.
But and the remake, I'm glad they didn't put the remake in that box set, because I think that would have just
with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
And Anne Heche, the late Anne Heche, man. And
she died. She died tragically, didn't she? Not
tragically
long ago.
And stuff like that too. And
but
the problem is with that film is it's shot for shot like the original in a modern way. That kind of irks people. You have to change it up a bit. Not saying it's a bad film, but you have to switch it up a bit, or else it doesn't work. People blame The Omen for that, but The Omen's the better remake with Liv Schreiber. That's something for another time. But the remake though is shot brilliantly, but like you say, it's just shot for shot, and there's no kind of they should have changed something or exactly.
But so, and there was a film called The Bates Motel. It was like a pilot episode.
That's right.
From 1987 with Bud Cort, I think it is.
Oh, nice.
I've never seen it, but I'm not. I just don't want to ruin these 4 films,
Right, exactly. But as a box, as a set, as a whole, I rank this. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. This is one of the best box sets next to the Friday 13th set that Scream Factory released. This is top tier right here.
I'd even go as
9 out of 10 for me. Yeah,
I'd go as far as to say the term of the box set with the whole package is a 10.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because the price point in that as well is you can still get that for £55 in the UK.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can find it and stuff like that too. It's a great release and stuff like that with its own sexy shower slip there. But yeah, all in all, it's a great franchise, underrated franchise, definitely a slasher franchise. Each film is unique. That's what I love about it. Each film is by itself unique. That's so good. Each one with a different director. You can't get better than that.
So where would this rank with Friday the 13th, Halloween, Child's Play? Would it rank up there for you in the top? Gotta be in the top 5, I would imagine, franchises. But saying that, you like Saw, you like a lot
slasher
of
franchises. Oh, so this would be third.
Oh, okay.
Because I have to put Nightmare on Elm Street. One of these days we'll do that. We'll have to do a special slasher stream for franchises, and that's definitely a good idea.
I was going to say, would this go above Texas Chainsaw Massacre for you?
Oh yeah. Oh, this one does. Yes. This one does. Yes. Yeah.
Just because of the sequels are better,
That's a good question. Yeah. That's a good question, Darren. Because I'm a huge Friday 13th mark. Of course I am. Halloween, not so much, but I do love 2 a lot, and I love 4 a lot. So, but definitely this is top tier franchise, slasher wise, horror wise.
This is above Halloween for me.
No, this is above Halloween for me too. So definitely, it's definitely a great franchise, and it was just great diving into this. This was a big slasher stream for us and stuff like that. We planned for this one too, and it was definitely worth the wait. So, very good.
Hopefully people got something out of it and enjoy.
Oh yeah, great stuff. We had a good amount of people in here one time, so that's good. I'm very happy about that. Thank you all for the support. What are you and Dirk doing on Saturday, Darren?
So funny enough, we're doing a Hitchcock. We're doing 3 Hitchcock films: Rope, Strangers on a Train, and Frenzy.
2
of them I've never seen before. So I've seen Frenzy, which is kind of Giallo-esque. So it kind of worked well, watching the first cycle this week as well.
Very good. All right there, Jane Doe. You have a great evening. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would. Wild. Yeah, definitely.
Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
What's up, Rob? Rob Romano, the Lost Boy, one of the coolest names on YouTube.
Hey,
very
Rob.
Cool. Jason, what's going on, my friend? How are you doing tonight? Maybe morning. Maybe
what's up, Jason?
Noon,
yeah, probably morning.
Something like that. Land down under.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying hi. Wait, I'm waiting on the gender swap remake. I'm sure it'll come along.
Oh man, I hope they just leave it alone now.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see Ari Aster do a version of Psycho. I wonder how that would work.
I mean, if it's anything, anything, if it's good, then I'll I'll embrace it. But you just know, I don't think they can go anywhere with it now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have Anthony Perkins, surely.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you what they could do. They could bring back kind of Henry Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
That would be one avenue they could go.
Oh, yeah, they can. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see. As for my content, next week, Terror Tuesday is going to be Megan, and Giallo Showcase is going to be the sister of Ursula. So,
nice.
Yeah, so kind of future content there. And then I have something planned with Agoraphobe and JT. We'll see where that goes and stuff like that too. And then, of course, sometime towards the end of next month, expect another slasher stream from us cool slasher dudes. And we'll think up a very cool topic. It's spring. Spring is here. I know it looks gloomy outside and stuff like that too, but we'll definitely get that spring/summer summer weather in there, summer slashback. Expect that content from us, from this channel. We have a lot of great stuff kind of planned here slasher wise, and expect some great stuff to come. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, this evening, morning, wherever you all at. If you can, slash the thumbs up or slash the thumbs down, like Dirk says, doesn't matter. It's all good. Subscribe if you can, sleeping bag against that subscribe, or put on the wig, get the butcher knife, and play that violin music there, and
go and watch Psycho films. I say,
yeah, and go and watch go in and watch the Psycho films right here, and it's all good. Anywhere, you all have a great night, everybody. We will see you all next time. You take care, guys.
Bye, guys.